Well, good evening, everyone. Welcome to the pre-show. As I'm still getting set up, it was a gorgeous day here. Amazing day here. We have gone from ice and cold and cool weather in the 30s and the 40s to now it's in the 60s. I think it was 70 today. It's going to be in the 90s next week. So we're prepared for getting warm. We've gone from winter to summer with barely a spring in between. So, Grumpy Stack, I ain't all that late. Shut up. I love you, Doug. So, welcome to everybody. Barbie D, Grumpy Stack. Who else is in here so far? We got Dave Potter, Uncle Dave. So, you're in Wisconsin, huh? On your way back to Rochester. Field guys here. Good to see you. We got about a minute and we go live. So, yeah, I was a little late. I was about a minute and a half late sitting down here, but it's the pre-show. So, caffeine. So, how is everybody tonight? I hope everybody is faring well and had as nice a day as we did. So, what else? I'm dressed for warm weather. Got my white shirt on. Haven't worn this since it was hot. Hey, Roger Rabbit. Alexandria Weiss is here. Good to see you. I'm so glad you're here. Alexandria, as I've mentioned before, we tried to get her called to work one night a couple of weeks back. She is a very prolific author, and she's represented by my agent, Italia Gandolfo. What a great name, huh? And you should go check out her books. I think you can go to Amazon and check out her books. Here we go. Going live. Going dark for a second.
Are you looking for a really awesome and amazing graphic designer? How about an illustrator or a photographer? This is Rainey Roberts, and I wanted to tell you how you can get my designer, illustrator husband, Scotty Roberts, to work for you on your project. Do you have an awesome self-published book but no cover, or even worse, a cover that really sucks? Do you need a kick-ass logo for your company or some f***ing awesome graphic designs for your ads or website? Then get in touch with my husband for the best f***ing awesome kick-ass design and illustration. He knows his stuff, and he's been at this for more years than I've been alive. Go to ScottAllenRoberts.com. That's Scott with two T's, ALANROBERTS.com to take a look at his online portfolio of work, or call 651-468-8115. Now go out and kick some ass with some kick-ass graphic design.
Hire my dad, so he can take me to Disneyland.
You're listening to the Intrepid radio program with Scotty Roberts. Intelligent Talk.
Son of a... I'm muted. I didn't put my mic hot. I thought I did. So sorry about that, everybody. Everybody listening over on the radio. I'm just going to go through my little spiel again. You missed my daughter, Rowan, just came in. Give me a second, Rowan. I have to make up for lost muted mic. That disturbs me that I still do that from time to time. But you are listening to the Intrepid radio program. I'm your host, Scotty Roberts. You can hear us in audio format at the radio station by going to OdysseyRadio.com. And Odyssey is ODYSY radio.com. You can watch the simulcast on my YouTube channel. That's youtube.com/Scotty Roberts. And you can join the family of Intrepids over in the chat room. And thank you, everybody over in the chat room, for yelling, dead air, muted, big guy, all of that stuff. So my sincerest apologies for not porting up my mic. Once again, if somebody wants to come and be my engineer or my producer, you are more than welcome to do so, because I'm just bad with those details. And I actually thought I reached over and ported up the mic when I came live. So sorry about that. Anyway, we're here. Thanks for being here. Thanks for at least watching closely enough to see that you weren't hearing any sound. So welcome. I want to say welcome to all my friends over there in the chat room. And I don't usually like to take airtime on the radio to do this, but there's some of you here that the Field Guy is here, Barbie D, Dave Potter, Uncle Dave, and Grumpy Stack is here. And I go down the list. We've got Barbie D. I don't know if I said that already. Field Guy, Matthew Sainsbury from Barbados, man. And Morgan Snow is here. And Paul Roney. Good to see you. Good to see you, man. That's Patch, you guys. For those of you who know. What do you mean, is it my turn?
My turn.
Am I done talking yet?
My turn.
It's my turn. So my 10-year-old daughter is here with her rubber gloves on, I was starting to say. And I just want to do one more shout out in case I did that during the pre-show or after the mic was supposed to be hot. I've got a good friend, Alexandria Weiss, is in the chat room tonight. Alexandria is a prolific author, and she is also represented by my agent, Italia Gandolfo. What a great name, huh? And you can go check out her books, I believe, on Amazon. You just look up Alexandria Weiss and take a look at what she writes. She's from down there in Field Guy country. She is a dweller of New Orleans, or Nolans, they say down there. So I love you right back, Alexandria. And thanks for being here. And so tonight is, we're doing an open line Friday night, which we've done open lines before, but I've never, officially labeled it Open Line Friday. But here, let's steal that. We're Open Line Friday tonight. That means you can call in to the studio, and we'll talk about whatever you want to talk about. And I'm going to post, I'll probably do it several times throughout the night, but let's post the link right here. Boom. There it is. If you click on that link in the chat room, you will come right into the studio. I'll see your camera image down there, but you won't be live until I bring you in. So if you want to call into the show, you don't have to do visual if you don't want to, but everybody's going to see you and everybody will hear you. So open lines. Now, to my 10-year-old daughter who is invading my airspace.
I don't have forever.
You don't have forever. Oh, well, gosh.
I'm a stylist.
I should have gotten you earlier.
I'm talking. I am a stylist, and my other friend is in the bedroom.
You had to think about that. My other friend.
My friend Ruby is in the bedroom, and we are stylists, and we are combing out Ellery's hair, and we wear gloves because what if a spider just jumps in our face out of her hair?
I see. Okay. We'll go take care of her hair. And Ellery, my 7-year-old, they're apparently... I need a haircut? All of them? They're working on her hair. Now, Ellery has this gorgeous, thick mane of hair, and it's coarse, and it's thick, and it's long, and she gives us a hard time every time we want to brush through that hair. And so Rainey does it sometimes. I do it sometimes. And you know what? She has an aversion to having that done. So every couple of days, you've got quite a Bigfoot nest growing on the back of her head, and we've got to brush that through. So they're in there giving her a little bit of the hair treatment. A month? I see you putting braids in it all the time and brushing her hair.
I respin it back into a bun on the top of her head.
Well, there you go. True confessions, folks. We haven't brushed Ellery's hair for a month, and she refuses to do it. Rainey just brushes the superficial stuff, puts braids in, stuff like that, but she hasn't really had it all worked through in a month. So there it is. Matthew Sainsbury says, hi, Rainey. Nice to see you. Oh, we got Grumpy Doug is in here. He's going by his first name tonight. Let's add him to the stream. Grumpy Doug.
How's it going?
How you doing, brother?
I'm exhausted. How are you?
Exhausted? What, are you working too hard?
I just put in 11 and a half hours today.
Nice.
Yeah, so I'm
that's
sitting.
a long day.
Yeah, I'm sitting down outside. Normally I have a fire going, but not tonight. I'm too tired
Not
for that.
tonight, huh? Too tired for a fire.
Yeah.
Well, it's gone from like 40 degrees here to it's going to be 90s next week. And so, for all those who think Minnesota, Wisconsin, it's the land of the great white north and frozen tundra year-round, it's actually quite the opposite. It can get pretty frozen for about a month in the wintertime, but then in the summer, it completely does a 180. And it can be 100 to 105 degrees with really high dew points, kind of Louisiana weather.
Oh yeah.
So
we got up to 88 today, and it was 112 in the shop. So
112 inside the shop. Nice.
yeah. But
Well, you got no air
people need
conditioning in that
tires.
tin box?
Huh?
You got no air conditioning in that tin box?
Oh no, I got two doors wide open. Putting air conditioning on in there, it wouldn't do
suppose.
anything.
You're gonna have to use some big shop fans, those big like jet engine shop
Yeah,
fans.
I have one of those. I gotta put it in the rafters because it's on the ground right now, and it does its job, but blowing 115-degree heat around, it's not too fun.
Yeah. Well, Rowan is here just to be here.
No, I have something.
Hey, Rowan.
Oh, you've
I
got
need my
something
hair
to
done.
ask.
No,
Can you do my hair?
Doug says he needs his hair done. Do you think he could do his hair?
he doesn't have any hair.
Well, that's astute.
Very.
She'll spit shine your head, Rainey said.
Looks like you.
You could pay Rainey for that. She'd do that.
Well,
She's a massage therapist, you know. She
Oh,
has
I
all
need
the
one of
right
those
tools,
today.
all the right hands, and she's got all the right techniques. It's like, come here, Doug. And she'll rub that in.
Oh.
You'll be shining.
I have something to add.
What do you have to add, young daughter?
Me and my friend Ruby are so awesome that even though it's Saturday tomorrow, she's sleeping over. We're such great people. We're waking up at 7:30 in the morning to go volunteer and help out the middle school.
Nice.
What are you going to help the middle school do?
Free clothing drive.
Free clothing drive. Maybe we can get rid of a lot of your clothes tomorrow. Just pack up a big box or bag and
They're my clothes.
we'll haul them in.
Don't you dare.
That's an idea.
I just wanted to say that today was my daughter's last day of high school.
Last day of high school for your daughter. When's graduation?
Graduation's on the 19th of May.
Well, congrats to your daughter.
Thank you. So I'll probably miss the 19th. It's a Thursday.
Oh my God.
I'm pretty sure that
You're going to miss a day of this show?
Of course. I think the stats haven't come out yet, but I'm almost positive that she's finished 10th in the class.
Oh, that's pretty nice. That's pretty good.
Yeah.
10th?
Yeah, and once that's over, I'm probably not going to see her most of the summer. She's going here, there, and everywhere, and I'm going to be in the shop.
Well, nice. By the way, Ryan Gale asks if Rainey can make your hair grow.
Probably so.
Yeah.
She could just shock my. Can I say the N-word on radio?
What N-word?
She can shock my nipples and maybe the hair will grow.
That one's more money, I think.
Okay.
She's wide open to the nipple thing, but that's going to cost you, brother. So you want hair on your nipples. Got it. We'll see what we can do.
I don't know.
So are you back?
Yes. I want to show them what we're working on.
Here. So she wants you to see, all of you to see what she's working on. Sorry, those of you on the radio, you can't see this, but there is the backside of my young 7-year-old's hair.
We're working on
They're
that.
working on it. They got it full of all kinds of paint thinner or something to...
We have BB cream.
What do you call it? It's a BB
BB
cream. Okay. Well, there you go.
Cream.
Well, don't make it fall out. She'll look like Doug.
No, she'll look like you.
I at least have something on top of my head. So
I mean, a bald Rainey is okay, but a bald Grumpy is not too nice.
Yeah, a bald Rainey is okay. Oh, I don't know. Rainey, come over here for a second, would you please?
For what?
For me. You got to take. Now, I know most of you know my lovely wife, but she makes an appearance here quite often, and we do our Sunday morning show. But you got to see this mane of hair that she has. She's going to show up right here somewhere. Oh, she's got it all knotted up. She's unknotting it now for you. This is what Ellery inherited from her.
Except Ellery's like double my thickness.
Yeah, Ellery's is even thicker. So there you go. There's Rainey. Look at this stuff. Now, she just had it all knotted up, and she's been all day running outside and doing stuff, so it's all windblown and all that. But that's part of what attracted me to Rainey. Now, I don't know what you guys think about this, but the first time I saw Rainey, well, I had met her a couple of times, but I saw her at the Dubliner Irish pub. And she came walking in with a girlfriend, and she was all dressed nice and showing off assets, so to speak. And she had this thick, it's the same now, this thick head of brunette hair, the kids calling her. And she's got those blue eyes. So it was the blue eyes, the thick mane of hair. And I will admit, and I will confess, the boobs did something for me too. And but that first sight of her, and I was like she walked by, she didn't even know me that well, and it was like, you've all heard me say this before. She walked by, and I said, "Hey, Renee," and she's like, "Hi," and walked by. So it took about a year for me to recover from that one, I think, before she actually went out with me. So there you go.
Is she open to do a trade? I'll shave her head. She gives me a back massage.
She'll do a back massage for a set of tires.
Okay. Done.
How's that? Okay, we're on our way down to Louisiana. So Matt Finn, the boobs, we had no idea. I will say, I'm a guy. I am a red-blooded American man. And I am not, well, I am overtly distracted by boobs because I'm a guy. It's the way we're made. It's the way we're wired. Now, look at me. I'm 61 years old. I'm no longer in the need of making more children, but my wife can walk by, and I'm like, holy crap. Wow. sometimes I just go, you should see her. One time I said, oh, you're amazing. And she said, shut up. So she doesn't buy all my stuff. So anyway, so what else is going on with you, Doug? What's on your mind?
Oh no, not too much. I just wanted to say something about, I think Roger and Carly.
Yeah.
Always keep them in your prayers.
Is Roger here tonight? Did I see him here tonight?
He was here earlier, and
okay,
he might be around, but just keep him in your prayers. They had something happen in the family, and nothing with Kinsey.
No,
but
all right,
just do an extra little prayer, and also
we will.
One thing that
keep Roger and Carly in your mind, guys.
Yeah, but Roger does some awesome frisbees. He does frisbees. He could put logos on them.
I didn't know that. He's never told me.
Yeah, it's something he does. He likes to play. What is it? Frisbee golf, or I don't know exactly what it's called, but he does his own little frisbee stuff. And look, the work he does is amazing. So if you want to hook up with him and see what he can do, that'd be an awesome thing for him.
I'll talk to him about that specifically, as a matter of fact.
Yeah.
So we need some Intrepid radio program frisbees.
That would be awesome.
Giveaways. That would be amazing.
And look, you can throw it at the people too who order them.
Yeah. Hey, go long. All right.
It'll probably nail Field Guy right in the forehead.
Probably. And we need to dent in that forehead just a little bit. So.
Yeah. Well, I got a half a day of work tomorrow, so I'm gonna go back into the shadows and into the show and watch.
All right.
So I just wanted to drop by, say hi, and have a great night.
Always good to see you, brother.
Good to see you.
All right. You have a good night.
Good night.
Build a fire.
Not tonight.
It's
too late.
No energy left.
No, not at all.
10 o'clock, I suppose.
I'm slumped down in the chair as it is.
All right. Well, you have a good night's sleep. Get some rest, brother.
I'll try.
Talk to you later.
All right.
Love you, Doug. All right, guys. That was Grumpy Stack, Doug Stack. As most of you know already that are regular listeners, he purchased a tire company, and so he's down there north of Lake Charles by about an hour and a half. Is where he is in Louisiana. So if you need tires, that's the guy to go see. Help support a good man and a good business. All right. In lieu of having nobody else in here, this is going to sound serious, but it's come up for me several times in the last week, especially with all the politics going on out there. And I've mentioned a few times the whole, and you'll hear me say it on the show, and I say it in posts that I write, something about Alinskyism. I said, wow, that was very Alinsky-esque of that person. And I just wanted to refresh everybody's memories. Even though we don't do politics on this show, per se, I don't like to delve into that, but current events I like to cover. And this is a philosophy that's out there that you may or may not know about. Saul Alinsky's 12 Rules for Radicals. Have you ever seen this? Alinsky was an effective organizer. He developed these rules for getting organized in your activism. Now he wrote these in the late 50s or the early 60s, but you see this all the time. And this is something to keep in your mind as you look at some of the information that's coming your way and the things that are said. A good thing, a good example, whether you like them or not, whether you're conservative or liberal or whatever, I, from time to time, I like to watch Tucker Carlson. Now, there are some people who like him, some people who don't. I tend to know his style and his show well enough to know what he's all about. But there were 5 articles about a week ago released on him over the weekend, last weekend. 5 separate articles in the New York Times that were damning him and trying to do the cancel culture thing on him. And he had fallen outside the narrative that they were presenting. And so they said that he was the most racist radio show host or television show host in America. The most racist. And they were using things like saying, now I don't remember the number, but it was like 250 times he said things like, them versus us. He made that statement. Now, they didn't qualify any of those phrases. They didn't put context to any of them. So when they're saying, well, he said them and against us over 250 times, somebody said that to me, and I said, do you have any context? Did they provide any context for any of those claims, of those 250 claims? Well, no. They just said he said the phrase 250 times. Well, I've heard him say that phrase before, but never in a racist context and stuff like that. So this is what I look at when I see the left especially uses this Alinsky type of philosophy of one that will... Here, listen to the 12 rules, the 10 rules for radicals. He says, number 1, power is not only what you have, but what the enemy thinks you have. Power is derived from 2 main sources, money and people. Have-nots must build power from flesh and blood. These are the 2 things of which there is plentiful supply. Government and corporations always have a difficult time appealing to people, and usually do so almost exclusively with economic arguments. Now, by the way, if I misspoke and I say that only the left or only liberals use these rules for radicals, it's primarily identifiable there. But I know you've got both sides of the party will use that. But these are things you need to watch out for when you see how politicians especially act toward people. Economics, their pocketbook. Rule number 2, never go outside the expertise of your own people. It results in confusion, fear, and retreat. Feeling secure adds to the backbone of anyone. Organizations under attack wonder why radicals don't address the real issues. This is why they avoid things which they have no knowledge of, or of which they have no knowledge. That was rule number 2. And by the way, let me post in here once again the call in. If you want to come in and talk, now's the time. You've got time to do it. The studio line is open. Sometimes we get more calls than we can handle, and it's not an open line night. Now it's open line, and everybody's like, "Oh, you're asking me to call now, so I can't do it now." So come on, you don't have to be on the camera if you don't want to. If you want to call in, now's the time. Let's get back to these rules for radicals, because I think this is good conversation fodder. Rule number 3 of Saul Alinsky's rules for radicals. Whenever possible, oh, wait, I did rule number 3. Go outside the expertise of... Oh, here it is. No, I didn't do rule 3. Almost sounds like rule 2. Rule 3, whenever possible, go outside the expertise of the enemy. Look for ways to increase insecurity, anxiety, and uncertainty. This happens all the time. Watch how many organizations under attack are blindsided by seemingly irrelevant arguments that they are then forced to address. Now, this is one of the big ones because you see it all the time. What happens? Remember when we say there are people out there in politics, they will, rather than attack the argument, they will attack the person. rather than address their opponent's argument, they will address the fact that he grows petunias, and only anti-gay people grow petunias in their gardens. Whatever, I'm just making that up. But you get the idea that is exactly what they do. And then it forces the person that they're attacking to defend his position against the attack rather than speak on the issues themselves. So one of that third rule for radicals is go outside the knowledge or the purview of the person that you're standing up against. All right. Rule number 4. Make the enemy live up to its own book of rules. If the rule is that every letter gets a reply, send 30,000 letters. Oh, I am not Scotty Roberts. It's Field Guy. Let's come back to this. And here, let me finish this one rule, Field Guy. Make the enemy live up to his own book of rules. If their rule is that they answer every letter that comes in, send 30,000 letters to them. You can kill them with this because no one can possibly obey all of their own rules. And this is a serious rule, he says. The besieged entity's very credibility and reputation is at stake, because if activists can catch it lying or living up to its not living up to its commitments, they can continue to chip away at the damage. And now I see guys like, I look at George Takei, who played Lieutenant Sulu in the original Star Trek. He's a huge leftist activist. Oh, we got Mr. Burgles coming in at the same time as Field Guy. Well, we're not going to let Mr. Burgles in because he's wearing his something like what is it, Texas Chainsaw Massacre mask. So, Mr. Burgles, take off your mask, and maybe we'll let you come in. All right, Field Guy, I'm going to bring him in. I was talking about George Takei. Here he is. I am not Scotty Roberts, says Field Guy. George Takei.
This is me.
Is somebody who he's an activist for leftist causes. But everything I see him post is something that is dripping in Alinskyism. He makes a charge, but he doesn't back up his charges, and he's got 1,000 people following him that go, yeah, that. And they swallow what he says. He doesn't care if he is presenting truth. He cares that he's presenting something to stir the pot in an activist sort of way. Field Guy, how you doing? Your camera's off.
Doing good. I turned it off.
Oh, it was on.
Yeah, I turned it.
Oh, there's Mr. Burgles. He's back with a still photo with no mask. Mr. Burgles, you have to be listening. I don't trust you yet. Why don't you come into the chat room, Mr. Burgles? Chat it up for a couple of minutes with everybody. Let everybody get to know you, and maybe I'll let you come in. All right, Field Guy, back to you. We've had enough porn flashed on our screen and enough idiots out there.
It's really stupid that people got to come in and do that crap.
It really is.
And I really hope they get hit by a train.
And I have a setting that says you have to be a subscriber in order to come onto the show. So
yeah, they subscribe. They subscribe to you.
Subscribe. Mr. Burgles understands. He said, I would never do that. Well, that's good to know, Mr. Burgles. Yeah. Why don't you get to know people over there in the chat room, Mr. Burgle? Let them drill you with some questions, and then we will. Then maybe we'll bring you on. You tried to come on last night too. So, Field Guy, what's on your mind, brother?
Not much. I saw Doug popped in, so I figure I'd pop in and see. I could show a point. See how I type in "I am not Scotty Roberts." Anyone can do that.
Yes.
Anyone can put a name in.
Sure. I get that point. You're a neighbor, as I mentioned before, a somewhat close neighbor to someone else who's in the chat room, Alexandria Weiss. She's an author friend of mine who lives down in New Orleans.
I remember that.
She and I've got to get her on just to talk about her books and to talk about her ghost experiences. She lives down in New Orleans, and she said the place is just as haunted as they come.
the whole place is haunted. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, there ain't a place you
hey,
can't go
Lalanya in the chat room. Good to see you.
But yeah, New Orleans is definitely haunted, no doubt.
Yeah.
There are all kinds of stories online about, because I've seen things in the past. There's all kinds of weird stuff. You go in the quarter.
What have you seen in the past?
Oh, I've seen ghosts. I've seen entities. I've seen stuff.
Have you seen actual, like, full-bodied entities?
I don't know. I mean, I think I have, but I'm not really 100% sure. My friend took photos. We went to the battlefield, and he was like, "I see something in the window. It's staring right at you." I was like, "Okay, kind of weird." I don't know if he got it on video or footage or not, but I didn't see it at the time. But I thought years earlier, I thought I saw some kind of figure in a abandoned house.
Yeah.
I think I was like about 9 or 10, and I went into this house, and it was all boarded up. Like you look in TV, they got the sheets everywhere, and old house. And me and my friend went in this house, and I could have sworn I seen like an apparition one time.
That's startling when you see things like that. So.
Yeah. Now, granted, I was like 10 years old, but
well, you were 10. Yeah, that's gonna startle you even
years
more.
Ago.
So.
But you never know when the mind plays tricks on you. Even when you're a kid, you don't know. But I mean, hell, half the freaking state of Louisiana is haunted. That's just a foregone conclusion.
Well, I've come to the conclusion that every place is haunted. It's just how evident it is, or how many, Savannah. They say Savannah, Georgia, is one of the most haunted cities in the United States. But then New Orleans could make that claim as well. So it's it's interesting.
Yeah.
I would love to go down there and do a little investigating. So.
I had a friend that moved from my neck of the woods. He lived in Savannah for 3 or 4 years, right by the waterfront, and he would say the same thing. I don't know exactly where in Savannah, but he actually was living in a place that was supposedly haunted, and he would hear things at night. And he only lived there about a year, and he moved a couple miles down the road. And after about 3 or 4 years, he came back down here because he was like, that place is too haunted.
Oh, wow.
I don't know what.
Now, are you east or west of New Orleans, or north? You can't be too far south of New Orleans.
More north. Wait, no, not north. More southwest, I guess.
Southwest, okay.
South. Yeah, probably southwest.
Can you go south of New Orleans? Don't you just hit the ocean, the Gulf of Mexico?
Yeah. I used to live right on the Gulf of Mexico. You can. Yeah, you keep going into the Mr. Go. Well, they blocked it. Mississippi River Gulf Outlet. That's what flooded during Katrina. It overtopped the levees and flooded the whole south part of Louisiana. They blocked it because they would dig out the sediment, instead of letting it fill up.
Right.
That way the boats, the shipping boats and the shipping lanes can go through the Mississippi River via the Gulf of Mexico.
Hurricane Central, says Matt Finn.
Yeah, we don't need any damn hurricanes this year. We don't.
No. You've had plenty of your hurricanes down there, so yeah.
Well,
it would not
about a month or two ago, about 6 weeks ago, a lot of, not within about 20 minutes of me, got hit with major F5 tornadoes.
Wow.
Couple for like every Tuesday for like the whole month of May. I mean, the whole month of April, it was bad weather, tornadoes. All that stuff.
That's terrible. We have tornadoes up here, but not many. I think we had some tornadoes kind of in the area not long ago up here, which was odd. When we had odd weather a few weeks back. So,
well, Louisiana, we have a saying: if you don't like the weather, wait a few hours; it'll change.
Yeah, we got that saying up here too. That's weird. We're on the opposite end of the Mississippi. So,
yeah.
Oh, you go up here? You go up here. I was just driving when I drove up to to see my friend and client, Andy Dabbs. I was driving up north. It's about 3.5 hours north of here. If you look at like a map of Minnesota and you look at the Twin Cities, we're just straight east of the Twin Cities. But you drive north 3.5 hours, you get to Andy's. And that's about halfway to the Canadian border from here. And I crossed over at one point the Mississippi River up there, and I've done it more than once. But you cross over the Mississippi near Itasca, and
that's where it starts. I think
it's like a wide creek up there, not hardly even a river.
Yeah, I've seen that online. The Forest Service or something, they charge people to hop the bank. It's
right,
like a 2-foot hop or something. You can hop it. You can't do that down here. You jump in the river, it's going to sink you.
You're a mile or two wide down there. So
probably, who knows?
No, even here. You go into Minneapolis and the river's awfully wide.
People fall into Mississippi. Someone fell into Mississippi. A couple of kids drowned a couple of days ago and fell. 10, I think 8 and a 10-year-old fell in the river and couldn't swim. And they found one of the bodies. The other one they can't find yet because it goes. And
it goes. They're in the Gulf. So
it goes floating and they don't see it anymore. It's gone.
The only time, let's see, have I seen the Gulf of Mexico more than once? I don't know. I know I saw it when I was a senior in high school. No, a junior in high school. We took a church youth trip down there, and we were all running along the beach off of Galveston Island. And there were dead jellyfish all over the shore. And we were running around barefoot, and the youth leader said, "Don't run barefoot into the jellyfish, please." So
jellyfish suck. Them stings, yeah.
And we were wading in the water. I mean, we went out. He said, "Don't get your clothes wet," the youth director. And so my friend Louie and I, we waded out, rolled up our pant legs, waded out to our necks.
Oh, yeah.
Came in drenched with salt seawater.
Oh, it's salty, all right. You can't drink that stuff.
Yeah.
There's no drinking that stuff. It eroded a lot of the salt water eroded the state loses about a football field of land each day. It's like 100 yards each day with erosion. And the last hurricane
100 yards each day?
A football field erosion each day of land, and they do eco-coastal things to restore it. Well, Hurricane Ida came and destroyed everything within 15 years. How do you keep the city of New Orleans from going into the Gulf? Well, New Orleans is like surrounded.
It's all built up.
Foundation. It's more, New Orleans is still below sea level, but it doesn't. It's got a lot of land. I mean, it's right there on the levees, but they have all of that. They have the floodgates. They have it. It won't affect New Orleans as bad. I mean, Katrina did because it's like 30 foot waves. I mean, that'll topple anything. Sure. It took the Superdome's roof right off. That flooded New Orleans. But that didn't. They
didn't sink it.
Yeah.
Hey, Sean Stroik, welcome to the chat room. Good to see you, brother.
New Orleans has a mayor that wants to sink it anyway.
Grumpy Stack said New Orleans is the bottom of the fishbowl.
Long as LaToya Cantrell is running that city, yeah.
Oh boy, don't get me started.
So, you don't know her, but you don't want to know her.
I know who she is, though.
Oh yeah, everybody knows who she is. Yeah.
Can I help you, Rowan? My daughter's staring at me from the wings here. Huh?
Must have did something wrong.
I can't hear you.
You're old.
Oh, I'm old? That's what you were trying to tell me? Well, I do have an earbud in this side.
We knew he was old already. That's no news.
So, yeah, that's old news.
Newsflash.
So,
that's the name of the game.
That's right. So, Durwood, welcome to the program. Welcome to the chat room.
Been a while since I ain't seen Durwood. He's been in the witness protection program lately. As I
That's
call
where he's been.
I don't know.
So here's
there's a
the
few people I
call-in link
call.
for anybody else who wants to call in tonight. Because we're not talking about anything. We're just covering stuff, and we're talking. And
Just
look at
on
that.
the radio talking about nothing.
We've only got 7.5 minutes left of the live show over on the radio station. So, folks, after the show, if you're still in the chat room, stick around. We're not going anywhere. What we're going to do is we go dark for a few minutes. We play the closing segment, closing titles as we exit the radio show. And we come back up and we are off air on the radio station, but we'll still be right here in the chat room and on the YouTube channel. So you can stick around and we'll continue talking it up. I keep chatting. I'm a little more than 7 minutes away from my place, says Uncle Dave. Uncle Dave might join me if he can get to his stable connection.
Well, hurry up, Uncle Dave, so you can take over and I can listen.
Hurry up, Uncle Dave. Well, I can let you go. I'll cover some more rules,
I don't have
radicals,
nothing to do.
Let's give some room for like Michelle Canham-Free to give us a call, or Matt Finn, or Sean Stroik. Join the club and come on.
I'm not calling a second time. So if someone else likes to impersonate me, they can go, you know where. So
that's right. That's right.
So it's a bunch of crap.
Which somebody did once already.
Yeah. They'll do it
come
again
up with
too.
The fleur-de-lis, so
they'll give it a chance. Well, I mean, you know my logo, you know my face, so you know. But
yes, I do.
They say impersonation is flattery or some nonsense, but when they're gonna do that to do what they did, and they know what they did, yeah, they're going straight to you know where.
There it is. Well, there's a lot of you know what you did, and you know where you're going, and you know where you're gonna go, and when
trying
it's
to keep it family friendly, where I don't swear on the radio.
Oh, I know. Hell yeah.
I try.
You try.
Yes.
All right, Fieldy, I'm going to let you go.
All right, sir. I appreciate you. I'm going to listen.
You stick around. We got a lot more show to do.
Will
after
do.
Hours. Do the
Thank
after
you much,
hours
sir.
gig. All right, brother.
Captain's cabin.
See you later.
Thank you.
All right. So that was Field Guy calling in. It's always good to have Doug Stack, Field Guy. How about somebody who's never called into the show before? We've got about, 6.5 minutes left of the show. If you want to call in and say hi, you can do that. Somebody who's never called before. If not, I'll hit a couple more of these rules for radicals for you. Let's see. We were on Rule 5. Ridicule is man's most potent weapon, says Saul Alinsky. There is no defense against ridicule. It's irrational. It's infuriating. It also works as a key pressure point to force the enemy into concessions. Pretty crude, rude, and mean, huh? They want to create anger and fear. That's what Alinskyism does, and you see it every day on the news. Rule 6: a good tactic is one your people enjoy. They'll keep doing it without urging and come back to do more. They're doing their thing, and they'll even suggest better ones. Radical activists, in this sense, are no different than any other human being. We all avoid unfun activities, but we revel at and enjoy the ones that work and bring us results. Alinskyism, Saul Alinsky. Lewinskyism is a totally different thing. Got your polka dot dress on there, Michelle? You can call in. And a lot of you got to start getting a little older to know what that's all about. Rule number 7. A tactic that drags on too long becomes a drag. Don't become old news. Even radical activists get bored. So to keep them excited and involved, organizers are constantly coming up with new strategies and tactics. All right. Now, some of you may be on the left if you're listening, but I will tell you I see the left engaging in most of this stuff more than anyone. Now, Here is rule number 8, and this is one Rocky and I used to focus on talking about these. Rule number 8 says, keep the pressure on. Never let up. Keep trying new things to keep the opposition off balance. As the opposition masters one approach, hit them from the flank with something new. Attack, attack, attack from all sides, never giving the reeling organization a chance to rest, regroup, recover, and re-strategize. You've seen that one, haven't you? Rule 9, the threat is usually more terrifying than the thing itself. Imagination and ego can dream up many more consequences than any archivist or activist. I'm sorry. Perception is reality. Perception is reality. Large organizations always prepare a worst-case scenario, something that may be furthest from the activist minds. The upshot is that the organization will expend enormous time and energy creating in its own collective mind the direst of conclusions. So the possibilities can easily poison the mind and result in demoralization. And then you got rule 10 of Alinsky's rules for radicals. If you push a negative hard enough, it will push through and become a positive. Violence from the other side can win the public to your side because the public sympathizes with the underdog. Unions use this tactic. Peaceful, albeit loud, demonstrations during the heyday of unions in the early to mid 20th century incurred management's wrath, often in the form of violence that eventually brought public sympathy to their side. Sean says, well, depends on the cigar, says Sean. So there you go. Over there in the chat room, the naughty people in the chat room tonight. The rule number 11, we've only got about a minute left here, guys. The price of a successful attack is a constructive alternative. Never let the enemy score points because you're caught without a solution to the problem. And rule 12, pick the target, freeze it, personalize it, and polarize it. Cut off the support network and isolate the target from sympathy. Go after people, not institutions, not ideas or ideals. People hurt faster than institutions or ideas. It's cruel but effective, and that's the way radicals work. So, folks, we got to get out of here for the radio station. So I'm going to sign off now and say to everybody over in the radio land, hey, live long and prosper. Stick around in the chat room.
You're listening to the Intrepid radio program with Scotty Roberts. Intelligent talk.
All right, folks, we are back only on we're off air on the radio station, and we are back in just the chat room over on the YouTube channel, and I think we're on the Facebook channel as well. So it's just us now. Welcome to the captain's cabin. Arr. And so the listener dubbed captain's cabin. Let me cut off our stream. I have to wait a minute after the show ends to cut us off. Boom. That is off. And let me discontinue recording this show. Now, the funny thing is, when I record the audio, I can't pick up the callers, which is really a pain in the butt. But I still have not figured out how to have my recording software pick up the audio from your calls. So Leslie Holker missed it again. It's okay, Leslie. We're still here. Just got home from a long day to Wisconsin and got Amelia to bed. Well, welcome to the show, Leslie Holker. I hope you had a good trip today. Let's see. Durwood's listening in on his way to work. Matt Finn. Dang soul sis, he says. Dang, probably comma, solstice. I read that wrong. Barbie D, okay, I tried, but I guess I was too late. Barbie, you can still call in. I was going to grab your call when we came back in. You popped up just as the end titles were playing. So call back in. I'll get you in here. We'll do this all, as long as we're all sitting here. We'll take calls. We can extend open line Friday to the captain's cabin. So anybody who wants to call in, call on in. And but some of you I won't let in, like Mr. Burgles. Mr. Burgles, if you're a good person, I don't know that yet. But you looked an awful lot like somebody who just likes to play games with people. So we're savvy to it. Anyway. Uncle Dave should be coming in pretty soon. I'm glad you had a good trip today, Leslie. Let's see. Andy's tired, went to bed. Mike Yehudi! Whoosh, he says. He was telling me some jokes online today. There's Barbie D. Let's get her in.
Buddy.
Hey, Barbie D. How you doing?
I'm doing okay. How are you?
I am doing very well. Outstanding. It's so nice to talk. I don't think I've ever spoken to you before.
No, you've never have spoken to me. And after tonight, this will probably be the last time.
Well, you are, and you're up kind of late, aren't you?
It's a Friday night, Scotty. I can be up the rest of the night.
I can be up as long as I want.
That's right.
That's what my kids tell me. I can be up as long as I want.
I just wanted to call and let everybody know that I said hello and I send my love to everybody. And Michelle, since I do it, you better do it next.
That's right. Listen to Barbie D.
Yes, you listen to me. Because if I can do it, Scotty, anybody can do it.
That's right. Well, tell us something. Tell us a little story or something. What's going on in your life today? What was your day like today?
What was my day like today, Scotty? My day today was a rainy day. It's been rainy the last few days. Haven't been able to get outside. I have an aide that comes, and let me see what else. And we talk with. I remember last night's show and the way you were talking. I said, I felt like you were talking to me because the way you're describing the people and everything. That's how I have always been with my life. I always wondered what people would think of me and thought of me. And I tell you, Scotty, like I wrote, I said, you almost had me near tears.
No. Well,
it made me realize I did waste a lot of my years over things that I had no control over.
Right. Well, isn't that the way it kind of always is? When I was in church work, I had an old pastor friend of mine that said, now remember, this is within theological context, but he said, if the devil can't make you bad, he'll make you busy. And what he really applied that to was all the things in our life that distract us from doing the things we ought to be doing. We get busy with those and they distract us and they pull us off course. And many times we get so plowed over by the daily stuff, the taking care of kids, the washing the dishes, doing the laundry, mowing the lawn, going to work, filling the gas tank, raking the yard, whatever it might be. All those things, they can be very good things for us, but sometimes we let those things suck the time away from us and we're floundering, not living an intentional life, something that we really want to, the whole Mark Twain quote.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying, Scotty. And after the show tonight, I made up my mind that by the end of the summer, I'm going to be up and walking better than I have been.
Outstanding.
I'm determined to do that, Scotty. Last night's show, you put a lot of confidence back into me, Scotty, and I don't know if I can explain how you made me feel.
Oh. Well, thank you for saying that. And, it's like you've heard me say it 100 times. My mantra, 20 years from now, you'll regret more the things you didn't do than the things you did do. So cast off the bow lines, push away from the safe harbor, set your sails to the trade winds, explore, dream, discover.
And what I'm going to do when I get myself walking, Scotty, I'm going to see if I can get a picture or something to show you that I did it.
Fantastic. I can't wait.
So
then share it. Call into the show and share it.
I will. And if Michelle, if you're listening, I'm going to hang
She's
up
there.
now, and you better call in soon, lady.
There it is. Yeah, you better, Michelle.
So, Scotty,
thank you, Barbie D.
And I will see you soon.
All right. And man, you're in my thoughts and in my heart. Can't wait to see those pictures.
Thank you, Scotty. Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye, darling. All right. That was Barbie D, our own Barbie D. So, wow. Is James here? Did I see somebody say hey to James? James? I got to scroll back and take a look. Michelle Cannon-Free, you're on deck, Hey, James. There you are. Good evening from Third Shift, everyone, he says. Third Shift. What a wonderful place to be. Sometimes Third Shift can be good because it's quiet and there's not everybody around. Sometimes Third Shift sucks because you got to be up all night long. Bring in Nate, too. Where's Nate? Who's Nate? I don't see Nate. Grumpy Stack said, we love Nate. Bring him in, too. Where's Nate? I don't see him. Nate can call. So, Mike Yehudi, you ought to call. Now's the time, guys. Now we're wide open as long as we want to be. So, as long as I last. I went upstairs about 6 o'clock-ish, something like that. And I sat down in front of the TV and woke up laying down in front of the TV about an hour and a half later. So I must have needed it, huh? So, who else has got something going on? James says, John Deere warehouse receiving trucks to feed assembly lines. Nice. So you're busy all night. You don't have a quiet night shift. You don't have the quiet graveyard shift. You've got the active partying graveyard shift, doing work. Very true, Sean Stroik. Proud of you, Barbie D. So. And Michelle Cannon-Free says, oh, Barbara, I adore you. Nate, as in Michelle's son. Yeah, bring him on. Bring him on, Michelle. What'd she say? What a sweetheart you are, Barbie doll. Yes, she is. All right. Oh, there's Mike Yehudi. Let's add him to the stream. Mike Yehudi.
What is going on?
How you doing, brother? How you doing?
Doing all right.
Fantastic.
Can you hear me okay?
Hear you perfectly.
Okay, great. Oh, just listening in. I was wondering something. Have you ever heard of a rock band called Tool?
Yes.
I was listening to their new song, or one of their newer songs, called Pneuma. And it was in reference, as I saw it, to the ancient Greek for breath of life or soul.
Yes.
I thought it was really
now,
interesting.
I've never heard the song, but that sounds kind of cool. I'm going to have to look that one up.
Yeah, well, you can also watch their drummer playing along, but you can
very cool.
listen to the normal version without the drummer and everything. And that one in 46.
I could hear the drummer too. I don't mind drum.
Have you heard 46 and 2?
All right, I'm gonna have to look that one up.
46 and 2
No.
is a principle of.
My music tastes are weird. So.
Well, it's describes, I think, the evolution of man. And 42 and 2 was man at that point was more spiritual. 44 and 2 is when he progressed into the industrial age and moved away from spirituality. So the song of 46 and 2 is about the next progression of man. And my theory on that, I'll let you listen to it, is I believe that there's going to be a combination between the two older versions to make a newer perfect person in that sense.
That's interesting. Now you got me wanting to listen to Tool. I could hear them right now and I wouldn't know who they are. That's how unfamiliar I am with their music. So, interesting.
Well, I thought I would call in. I've never done this before.
I'm glad you did. So it's good to see you. How you feeling,
too, my friend? Days? Oh, I'm doing really well, actually. Really well. Losing weight. Been doing a ketogenic style diet.
Yeah. Does that suck or is it okay?
It's all right. I'm going to tell you a secret. Cauliflower crust pizza is not as disgusting as you think.
My wife is gluten-free. So when she gets pizza, it's usually like a rice-based flour or a cauliflower-based. Rainey, what do you think of cauliflower-based pizza crust? All right. She says it's not too bad.
The best.
Who makes that one? What? Who makes that one?
I think Udi's is
Udi's. She gets when she gets the frozen pizzas. So
tell her to look up a corn chips called From the Ground Up.
From the Ground Up.
Yeah, they make.
Got that down. She just took a phone call. So.
They make cauliflower-based potato chips like Doritos. And they're better than Doritos, the nacho cheese variety.
Nacho cheese.
Hey, man, it's nacho cheese. Come back here. And butternut squash.
From the Ground Up.
Yep.
And also butternut squash what?
Potato chips.
Oh, I'm supposed to be eating better too like that. She's trying to get me for years to go as gluten-free as she is. It hasn't happened yet. It hasn't worked. It hasn't stuck. And butternut cheese or butternut. What did you say it was? Butternut cheese or just butternut crisps?
Crisps. Just regular plain crisps.
It's a
and they make
British product.
No, I just said crisps.
Oh, okay.
I know that's how you speak sometimes, so I put it in Scotty terms.
Crisps. That was with John Ward from England. We would always Hereford. He was from.
And they make some crackers. They're like cheese nips or cheese is better. A little crispier, a little thinner, but really good.
Maybe Rainey has had some of those. She'll bring home some stuff sometimes from that's gluten-free stuff. And it's like it looks really nice on the package, like these cheese chips, and you go, "Oh, I'm gonna have some of those." And I bite into them, and I'm like, well,
"Do you live in Wisconsin?
Get it off my tongue, please." Yes,
you can get
not far from Minnesota. So
cheese-based potato crisps, Parmesan crisps. I've had them; they're really good.
Parmesan crisps she gets, yeah.
I know what do you do
for when you're doing the well, you can tell summer's coming already because I got bugs in the house. What do you do for, let's say you're getting a great spread for a meal and you're doing this diet like this? What kind of food do you get to eat? I mean, there's no you can't have like a porterhouse, can you?
Meat
slathered in butter and cream
meat
sauce.
Meat is keto friendly and
that's good.
You just can't get
Dave Potter was calling in and his device went dead.
Oh, sorry, Dave.
Can't get what? Oh, Omnivore? Yeah, he'll be back. I saw him pop in when I was writing, so maybe he got tired of waiting. or he's there. Here, I might be able to bring him in at the same time. Yeah, there he is. I see him. Here, I'm going to get rid of the banners here. Boom, that. Dave?
I'm here. I
Uncle
just have
Dave.
my camera shut off right now. I'll turn it on in a minute.
Okay. Okay, all right. He's got to pick his nose or something. You know, you always do that
I
on camera.
literally just walked in the door and I have to get a cup of coffee and do a bunch of stuff. And rather than have the camera moving all about the apartment, I thought this would.
So you wanted to call in before you were ready?
I'm running late already, so I figured I'd better.
That's all right. There's no late here. What is the best opening quote from Gandalf? He says, "A wizard is neither early nor late. He comes precisely when he is meant to."
That's right.
I told her my girlfriend's that. She didn't think it was too funny.
Yeah, that's a great line. I come precisely when I'm meant to.
Sorry, I thought it was funny.
It's very funny. Oh, boy, you hearing the screaming? Somebody's getting their hair work done. It's late for that. It's 10:15, but it's Friday night and all the kids are up. It was a nice day.
Look into Flat Out. They're like tortilla shells or like pita.
Flat Out.
Like 9 net grams of carbs. So really good.
Where are you at on your journey?
They're tortillas.
Me?
Okay.
Yeah.
Just at the beginning.
Just the beginning? So I'm down 200.
Nice.
I've been
Dave.
working at it for a couple of years. I'm not trying to race through it. A few pounds every month and just keep working away so I'm not bouncing and yo-yoing all over the place.
Well, I'm down a few pounds too, but nothing like that. I still got a lot
all in hair loss
to get rid of. Yeah, and hair loss. Hair loss alone, I've dropped 15 pounds. So, yeah, no, I got the roll around the middle, the eternal roll, the middle-aged. Well, I'm past middle age now. I'm an old man, burgeoning old man roll. I'm like the old guys you see playing golf, and they're wearing their double knit plaid pants and white patent leather golf shoes, and they've got those pants hiked all the way up and under their rib cage, but they got the nice little bulge right underneath that belt. And you go, wow, dude, you're showing that off.
Don't forget the Argyle socks.
You could be middle-aged, Scotty. You might live to be 125.
I might. I've already predicted that I will live to 104. So there you go. No, I won't. Thank you, Rowan. You want to tell why I won't?
Because you're old and wrinkly.
She's going to be the
100 because I'm old and wrinkly, she said. Wait till you see me at 104 if you think I'm old and wrinkly now.
It's a good thing she has Uncle Dave.
It's a good thing she has Uncle Dave.
All right, Scotty, I'm going to drop out of here. Thanks
Mike Yehudi, so good to see you, brother. Love you. And you take care, and we'll talk soon.
Awesome. Thank you.
All right, brother. Have a good night.
Blessings on your journey, man.
Thank you.
All right. Dave, it's just you and me now.
It's just you and me. I got my coffee.
You and me, babe. Growing up naturally, baby. What was that from? Was that a song or was that a song from a show?
It just came out of your mouth, and I have no idea where it was before that.
That's like I think it was a 70s show, sitcom or something. But I don't know for sure. Or it was an ad in the 70s, something like that. So you saw Star Trek Strange New Worlds today. You saw it today or yesterday? Yesterday. I was so I'm scrambling to get out of the house and head to the cities for painting and stuff, and I'm trying to make a schedule up there, and I'm checking emails and scrolling through stuff, and I'm out of the shower and I'm ready to go, and I look at my tablet
And Paramount has a dot, which means there's a new show. I'll just check. I'll just check and see what it is. And so I do that.
Hey, Ellery, that's enough. Good
I
grief.
pop open the screen and it's Strange New Worlds. I jumped right on Facebook and I said, everything is on hold for
everything
at least
on hold
an
for
hour.
the next hour.
I don't want phone calls. I don't want messages. I don't want texts. I don't want anything.
Yep.
I'm on Trek time. And all these hearts and things, likes, button, somebody hitting all that stuff. And I launched into the show and just sat there. My client texted me. He's also a big Trek fan. He goes, all right, I'll watch it too now since you're not coming for an hour. So
hang on. You keep talking. I got to see what Ellery is screaming about. Rainey just left her in there. So
well, she's having her hair done. She's probably freaking out. Getting those knots out are terrible. Kaylee used to have hair down past her belt line, and some days combing out all those knots in the morning before school. Oh my God, that poor kid.
So use the towel. I can't. I need help.
Oh, the drama. Oh, the drama. There's nothing like having young children in the house to create a little drama. Oh my gosh. So for those of you, if there's anyone out there that hasn't seen Strange New Worlds and wants to see it, I will do my best not to talk about spoilers and just talk in general about the visual quality of the show. It was an amazingly well done show. I have waited so long to see Star Trek like this.
One of the things they said about Star Trek Strange New Worlds is that they are going back to the original concept of Star Trek from the 60s, and they're going, instead of all these story arcs over the whole season, they're now doing episodic adventures one at a time.
Yep, and I love that. It's not that I love Picard and I love Discovery and all that stuff.
Picard was good.
Here's the thing. Yes, in all of these shows, in all of the Star Treks, there were things I didn't like and there were things I really liked. And the same is true with all the Star Wars content. There are things I really like and there are things I'm like, what the hell were you thinking when you did that?
Yeah.
But I have found nothing. So with Strange New Worlds, I have found nothing in it that I'm unhappy about. There were some things, the way they were leading up to the show. Well, first of all, it took them forever to launch this show.
Yes, it did.
They kept saying, it's going to be out next season. Oh, we're going to put it on hold now for a bit. And COVID had some stuff to do with that. I get it. I'm in the industry. I've worked in production. I know how all that stuff affects a shoot. But when they started teasing stuff like pictures of Kirk in a gold shirt and stuff like that, I was like, Kirk should not be in this timeline yet. And I was getting a little upset.
Well, he was alive. He was alive.
Right, but he's not an officer yet. And they had him with like captain stripes on the braids and stuff. And it was the picture they did.
When did Kirk come in? Kirk came in at the end of Pike's 5-year mission.
Yes.
When Pike
so
was done.
It's too early for him to even be an ensign, really. If anything, he's just entering the academy, if anything. And so when they started teasing stuff about, this person is playing Lieutenant Kirk, and that's just all they would say about it.
Sure.
And Lieutenant would be way too high of rank for him at this point in time if it was James and stuff. Right. And I had said to friends, well, if they make it, his dad, or they make it Samuel, or make it, somebody else, that's fine. I could deal with that. But they weren't teasing it that way. And I wish they just would have, because there's already enough haters out there with Discovery and how that was done and all this stuff, and people that don't like Picard because of how that's being done, that if you're going to tease it, let's not upset the fan base that's already looking for it.
Right. Well, I happen to love the idea of having Kirk in, but what you were hearing really early on, hey, Sean Stroik, by the way, welcome to the stream. And your is that your daughter?
Yes, it is.
How you doing?
Good.
Good to see you. Welcome to the show. You're on. What's on
What's
your
your
mind?
name?
I'm kidding.
Did you say Leah?
Lillian.
Lillian. We're talking Star Trek, Lillian. And can you
like Star Trek?
You like Star Trek?
I've never seen Star Trek.
What is wrong with? How are you raising this girl? What's wrong with you, Sean?
Yes, Sean. It's now counseling session for your dad.
Quick, I'm dialing family services right now.
Right now. Star Trek is a show on TV that Dave and I, especially, because we're a lot older than your dad. I'm older than Dave. We grew up when we were your age. Star Trek was already an old show. So it was a show that aired from 1966 to 1968. 2.5 seasons. And have you ever heard of Spock? Lillian, have you ever heard of the character Spock? You know who Spock is? Oh, Dave, we have some work to do here.
Oh, we do. We have a lot of work to do.
But Star Trek was about a captain of a ship, a starship, with the Federation. And it was set 300 years in the future. 300 years in the future. Or is it 200? And Picard's era was 300. But it was 200 years into the future. And it was supposed to be when Earth had discovered first contact with aliens. And they had this whole fleet of starships. And it was the Federation gathering all these planets together. And that's what the show is about. The flagship, the Enterprise, the USS Enterprise. Which, wait, hold on. I've got a model of the original Starship Enterprise right here. There it is. There. That was their ship in the 60s show. Oh, watch this if the battery's still working.
Okay, so you're getting there.
Oh, wait.
That's cool.
And so Captain Kirk and Spock, who was a Vulcan, he has pointed ears and big pointy eyebrows. And so William Shatner played Kirk. You probably know who William Shatner is, don't you?
Yeah.
Okay.
So there were a whole bunch of TV shows. Then there was The Next Generation with Patrick Stewart and that cast.
Star Trek: The Next Generation. That came out in '88, and that ran for like 9 years.
Then there was Voyager and Deep Space Nine. And then there was
Discovery. Oh, Enterprise. They did Enterprise.
Oh, Enterprise, yep, which deals with a ship before Kirk's ship.
And then they did Discovery, Star Trek Discovery, which was back to the same era of just before Kirk and Spock.
And about 12 movies. So you have about 3 months worth of constant viewing to catch up. So your dad has to go out and get all these DVDs, and you have to start working on it.
There's your homework for your dad.
A whole bunch of this stuff. You're in the generation.
Yeah, you can stream all of this stuff. So, but
Sean, I am shocked and amazed that you have not brought your daughter up to know what Star Trek is. Does she know do you know what Star Wars is?
Yes, I've seen that multiple times.
Okay, Star Wars is kind of the weak red-headed stepsister to Star Trek. So, but that's So Star Trek, that was my favorite show growing up. So when I was your age, how old are you? 14?
13.
13. I was close. When I was 13, it was 1973. So Star Trek had been off the air already for 5 years when I was 13. And I only saw one episode in its original its original run on television. And that's when I was a little kid. I was like 5 or 6, and I saw a show. I didn't see it again till it went into syndication, which meant it was just reruns, constant reruns. They had Star Trek every day at 5 o'clock in the afternoon. And I would watch it. And of course, back then, this is going to sound really weird. I don't know if your dad was ever in this position when he was young. We didn't have a colored TV. We didn't even know what color TV was. So we were watching Star Trek and all our shows in black and white. And then I happened to be over at a friend's house from
Worse
school.
than that, dear. We only had 4 channels.
4 channels. No cable, no internet. And we had 4 channels.
And a UHF, so 5th channel, but it was always fuzzy.
Always fuzzy. You had to stand with the rabbit ears on the TV and try to get, there's a show there I want to watch, and you got to get it at
Move
just
the
the right
antennas
angle.
around. Yeah, it was awful.
But when I watched that show, I went to a friend's house after school one day, and we were all hanging out, and he had the TV on, and Star Trek came on, and they were a rich family. They had color TV, and I went, Captain Kirk's shirt is green. It was like the color behind Uncle Dave right there, the look of it. And so it turns out yellow and gold now. They said that was the film process that changed the colors, and now they just do it in gold, all the new shows. This is my little girl, one of them. This is Ellery.
Hi, Ellery.
That's Lillian.
Who's calling me? Hi.
She's talking with me. Ro, hold on. So that's Lillian, and that's Sean, her dad. And you know Uncle Dave. Are you doing okay now? Doing better? How's your hair?
I was just screaming because Mom was brushing my hair.
See, that's exactly what I said it was. That's exactly
But
what
Mom was out of the room.
I know those screams.
So, all right. You go see what Ro wants. Hey. Bye. Hey, you stink purty. All right. Sean, how you doing?
I'm doing well, thank you.
He's talking to Lillian. I'll give him a minute. So, what'd she do? Biffed my, that's in the background. I thought that was my hair sticking out. It's the background. Or is it no, it's my hair. I somehow biffed the side of my head. So, give him an extra hug for us, Lillian. Bye, Lillian. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
Work on your Star Trek education.
Yes, it's your assignment for next time.
You're a teenager now. You should know these things.
Will do.
Will do. See ya. As for you, Mr. Stroik, we got to talk to you about not educating your child properly.
Yeah, what's that all about?
Dude.
She did play piano very well.
Oh, well, that's a close second to Star Trek.
You take her hunting?
No.
No?
I haven't been, so no, I really have not had time.
What's your favorite thing to do?
I was in college.
What's your favorite thing to do with your daughter? As a dad, you go, hey, let's go do blank.
Favorite. I feel like I'm on the spot.
Didn't mean it to come across that way. It was just like, I could tell you what's the favorite thing I do with my kids. Yell at them. That's my favorite. No, that's just the most often. That's not my favorite. Let's see. I like going to movies with my kids. Rainey does all the outdoor things with them, like sledding in this winter. I don't like winter things.
Yeah, it would have to be anything outside, taking them camping or
love doing that.
Anything.
Some of my best memories of growing up were camping with the folks.
I love camping, and we just haven't done it, and we're going to try to do that this summer. Rainey's taken them up to her mom's cabin. She's camped with them at scouting events and stuff like that.
I want to go to Abby and Bryn's house.
She wants to go to Abby and Bryn's house. They're down in North Carolina. So we might do that.
And the girls are good anglers. They go out fishing and ice fishing.
Yep.
Thank you. Bobby likes it.
So, What's your favorite thing to do?
Sleep.
Sleep? Oh, come on. You do so much more than sleep. Flynn's favorite thing to do is sleep.
Why aren't you in bed then, young'un?
Yeah, it's Friday night, and Rose got a friend over for a overnight, and they were working on Ellie's hair, so everybody's up late tonight. It's 10:30, and my kids are still up, but it's okay.
That's not so bad. I used to be up a lot later than that, and I used to do this thing where the whole family would go to bed, and I would throw a pillow out on the floor. We had hardwood floors back then, and drop down onto the pillow and pull myself across the room and down the hall back to the living room and turn the old Zenith on with that pop hiss and turn the volume up to just where I could hear it and sit there and watch comedy and classics. And they'd have Marx Brothers or Fred Astaire or things like that. I loved those old movies. And my dad would come out and find me at 3 a.m, passed out on the living room floor, laying on a pillow with the TV on.
Yeah. That's and I used to be a night owl, a notorious night owl. I still am to a certain extent, except I wear out faster these days. And I never would sleep. I always stayed up late. How about you, Sean? Were you what were you like as a kid growing up? Did you like to sleep, or were you like I'm a night owl, man? I'm up.
First of all, I got to say thank you to Michelle and Barbara.
Absolutely.
And I am up. Yeah, I'm
all
up
the time.
all night.
Oh boy. Now, is that by choice, or do you got things that you got a little bit of insomnia going on?
It'd be more insomnia.
That sucks.
But it's good when you're working second or third shift.
Oh, I suppose. Yeah,
I worked third shift for years and years and years, and that's
I don't do that anymore. But
I don't either, but I seldom get to bed before 4 a.m.
Yeah. I'm not a big I never liked working third shift, but I always stayed up like I worked third shift. And then I'd wake up at dawn. So
Scotty, like my last place I worked the
late
shift with, it was pretty haunted.
Oh yeah?
Oh yeah.
Now, did you experience anything there? What kind of company was it?
It was the old IBM building.
Yeah.
It was on the canal in New York.
Yeah.
Well, it used to be on the canal, and then it got filled in. So
okay.
It was the old IBM building. People died there. Firefighters died there, putting out fires. Guy hung himself there while I was working there. But
oh man. Now, did you experience any ghostly activity there?
Oh, quite a bit.
What kind of? Give us a story. What kind of thing did you see? What did you witness there?
I did not see anything, but I would see things move from out of the corner of my eye.
Yeah.
But there'd be nothing there. It was more of a much more of a feeling.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of feelings, but I would have. There were times near the end where I was there by myself all night long, and you would just 30-pound boxes just being pushed off the
oh
shelf.
Boy. Yep. Yep.
There was one place on the floor where I would hear high heels on the next floor up, and there was nobody there.
Mm-hmm.
And it was always a woman's high heels.
Oh boy.
Yep.
There would be.
Oh wow.
It's usually a very distinctive sound. When you hear something, it's not just I don't know what that is. It's a distinctive. You know exactly what that is.
And
that's what always weirded
trying to
me
get
out.
your attention.
And I was the only one in the building.
Yeah. Yeah.
You'd be walking up one of the back stairwells, and you would see a shadow like sitting down halfway up.
Ellie has requested that we stop talking about ghosts because it's going to scare her. But,
okay. Sorry, Ellie Belly.
I do have to tell this one little one though, Ellie, and this one's okay. because it's kind of funny. Good night, baby. I love you. You go to sleep now. All right? Mom's going to go lay down with you till you're out. John Ward was at the College of Psychic Studies or something like that. It's in London. It sounds funny until you realize this is the college that was in part founded by Edgar Rice Burroughs and others back in the late 1800s, early 1900s. And that college is still there. And so he was lecturing there on dowsing and other things. And so he's sitting there and he's on radio with Rocky and I, because that was back when we did the Situation Room with John Ward, Rocky Stucci, and me. And so we did the Situation Room at 5 p.m. Central Standard Time, which was, I think, 11 o'clock to midnight London time. And so it's one of those narrow, and Dave, you know what these are, and Sean, maybe you do too. In London, you go downtown London and all the buildings are these narrow, long, deep buildings, and they're like 3, 4, or 5 stories tall, but very narrow, like 30, 40 feet across at most. And,
never been to London, but I understand.
Yes, they're kind of like you saw Harry Potter, and
they paid taxes on the width of their storefront.
Yes,
back then. So
John is sitting on the main floor in the library, and he said, "Well, brother," he says, "everybody's gone home and they've given me the keys and I have run of the whole place." And he says, "The only problem is my flat is on the 4th floor, and I have to go up there." He says, "No, I think he said there was an elevator, but he'd use the stairs." And as we're sitting there talking to him, he said, "I'm in a big high back wing chair." We weren't doing visuals on that show. We just always did radio. And he said, "I'm sitting in a wingback chair in the library." And he goes, "Did you hear that?" And we're like, Rocky and I are like, "What?" And he goes, "Listen." And he's doing it on a tablet. And you hear, coming from upstairs. He goes, "That's right over my head." He goes, "There's nobody in the building." And so we would kind of mock him a little bit. And we say, John, we've got the solution to that. Hold your tablet out." Okay, he got it held out. He says, "Yes." And Rocky and I, we start going, "Oh, ghosts of the college. If you're a ghost, come and say hi to John. He would love to have you tap him on the shoulder or give him a kiss on the cheek." And John's like, No, don't ask it to do that. He says, "I don't want that at all." Now, and he had experienced a couple of other things in his room upstairs. But, oh, I'm sorry. What? I was in the middle of a story. Yes. Oh, good night. I love you.
Good night, Rowan. Love you.
Good night, Uncle Dave. I love you too.
And Sean. Say good night to Sean.
Good night.
Good night, Rowan.
I don't know you. But so John had all kinds of other experiences. But here's the interesting thing. When we played back that show, when we were doing the edits on it, Rocky called me and he goes, "You are not going to believe this." He says, during that little scene where John is freaking out, he said he had his feet pulled up on the chair and he's sitting in this chair and he's hearing the thumps upstairs and he's going, "No, don't tell it to do that." And there's an EVP captured on the radio show. And that EVP says in almost a Cockney accent, it goes, "We's all right." Just like that. And so we had to call John back and share that with him. Go, "John, you got company."
I bet he slept well that night.
Yes. But he had, the bedroom he was in used to be the room where the old spiritualist in the late 1800s, early 1900s, Hey. That would he'd do Henry James, and he would do occult seances. I'm sorry, that was his seance room. That is now the bedroom. What's that?
I've never heard of him.
Henry James, an old spiritualist, like think of the era of Houdini prior to Houdini, Edgar Rice Burroughs and all of that. And he would do seances up in that room. And so there's John sleeping in that same room.
Who knows how many portals were opened and never closed?
Oh, dude. We did the same thing. He fell for it again, by the way, when he goes, I'm in the room now. This was another day. And we go, well, John, here, this is for you. Oh, spirits that were summoned by Henry James, come and pay John a visit tonight while he's sleeping. No, I'm cutting you off. Stop. And he told me the next day, he told us that he would get rattling at the door and there was nobody else there. And his door would rattle like somebody trying to enter the door and stuff like that. So he got pretty freaked out. So like his the very famous sound clip we have of the big bang in the house in South Minneapolis with Rocky and John and I. We heard that big bang. I stand up on the stairs. I go, hello. I go, it's upstairs in the kitchen. We were down in the basement. So I turn to go upstairs and John's right behind me and Rocky's after him. You hear us on the recorder hustling up the stairs and John utters the very famous line, get me out of this fucking house.
I remember that.
And so that was great.
It's a great story.
And you hear him. It was his recorder that picked it all up. You hear him. He comes up to his recorder up close and he grabs it to shut it off. And you hear him go, and he's messing with it. Oh, shit. And he's just like freaked out. So, but yeah, there you go. And that just prompted that when you said you had a couple of things that you catch out of the corner of your eye. Many times, that's what they do to get your attention. I've always wondered why they don't just come around in front. Hey, why are you always at the corner of my eyes? Well, just come on out. I'm inviting you. Come on out. And apparently it's energy, and it's the energy.
I had a time at a lodge one time where I sat down in this at this table.
It could just be they don't want to.
I had a time at a lodge one time where I sat down at this table and I just kind of expressed out loud what a crappy day it was, and all of a sudden I felt this hand on my shoulder, like somebody was there saying, "Hey, it's okay." And I turned to see who had come in, and there was nobody standing next to me.
Dude, you'll be okay. It's an okay day.
Yeah. Thanks, brother. Are there any live?
You're gonna say something to me?
No.
Oh, okay.
Just doesn't get any internet in there.
Oh gosh, I'm sorry. At 11 o'clock at night, your room doesn't get any internet?
I'm trying to play Roblox.
Oh.
Might be on purpose.
It would be on purpose, but we're my house.
Yeah. Well, she was grounded for a few days from her phone.
Where I went to college, my room was actually in a building, and it was the Oddfellows house.
Oh.
You're gonna have stuff there.
Oh, there was.
Yeah, that would be interesting.
There was much going on there.
There are some of those places I would love to conduct a little investigation.
My college was built in, I don't know how old that building was, off campus a little bit, but the college came around in 1812. So it's pretty old.
Where'd you go to school?
Yeah.
That was Allegheny College in Meadville, Pennsylvania.
Yeah, I did some work at a college in Bethany, West Virginia that was built in the late 1700s, and lots of haunting things going on there. That's quite the campus.
Yeah, that was the actual, I don't know. The women's dorm was supposed to be pretty haunted, and you go walking down that, And it just, I don't know, the narrow and it kind of goes on forever is really, really odd. Surreal.
Yeah, we had some of that. I went to a little college called Pillsbury Baptist Bible College in Owatonna, Minnesota. And wasn't into any of this stuff back then. In the late 70s, 1980 was my last year there. And but I had friends that were lower classmen and that had experienced several things there. Apparently, there was quite some occult things that occurred there. They were a very strict Baptist Bible college, very strict. And there were some people that I guess got expelled because they were performing some kind of satanic ritual in the dorm room or something like that. And,
who knows what that's what the Baptists
who knows what they were doing. Yeah. According to the Baptist, I could take a tarot card and go.
They were singing row, row, row your boat, but they changed some of the lyrics, but who knows?
Yes.
A Ouija board one night.
What's that?
That was an interesting night.
A Ouija board? Oh my God. Yeah, I did one at a Renaissance festival one time. I lost time during that experience. Yeah.
I'll bet you did.
It was a bizarre experience.
It was after the experience in my room, and the girl that I was working on it with, she went pale, and she said someone was trying to push her out of her body.
Oh my.
And it was,
Ouija boards are not some cheap game. You have to, they're a serious tool. And I always thought, oh yeah, whatever. And then I experienced this night, and I'm a firm believer. You have to be careful with those things.
Take me for a cheap conjurer of tricks. What was Gandalf's line? So, Lalanya in the chat room says, I think my husband's a paranormal magnet and he hates it. Always pretends like it didn't happen. Oh, I didn't see that thing that moved.
I know.
I mean, I didn't see it.
Well,
a television show.
You see things and you try to dismiss them. Oh, it could be this.
Well, it's the brain tries to. I got to the point where I don't try to explain it away so much anymore, unless it's my kids telling me about it. Then I'll go, oh, it could just be this or that, because I don't want them to get worried or scared.
But, well, secretly he's taking notes. I got to go do EVPs in there tomorrow while they're at school.
EVPs but they'll all the time. They'll tell us, Rowan will do this. She'll say, I was sitting downstairs and this book moved off of my shelf and this and that. And I'm a little nervous. And I'd say, and she's not too upset about it. And I just tell her, well, with Ro, I'm starting to get to the point where I can go, well, it might be something. Maybe we should go ask. But when they were a little littler, I'm like, Ellie, I'll do this. I'll say, oh, that's probably something that was sitting crooked on the shelf and there's vibrations. The train goes by on the tracks out behind the trees over there, shakes the whole house. Probably just worked its way off the shelf. And I said, I wouldn't worry too much about it. Or they hear sounds, or they do that. And I'll tell you something, there is stuff here all the time. And we see stuff, we hear stuff all the time. Some of it you can explain away. It was a sound, it was a this or that. Other things you can't. And I actually sat here with Ro the other day and recorded on the computer's recording. I recorded for EVPs in broad daylight because there was something. Oh, you know what it is? Flynn's. Did you take it with him? Yeah. Oh, okay. Flynn had his lightsaber sitting here, which I had on the show the other night. I showed how those lightsabers work that we had. And he said his blade wasn't lighting up right. And I was alone in the house. And I took it the other afternoon and I turned the thing on and I turned it on and it flickered a little bit and then it came on. And so I was like, okay, cool. So I shut it off so it wouldn't wear off the battery. You have to turn the switch off. And I took it and I stood it up in the corner over there. next to the flag. And because I got the musket back there and swords and stuff. And so I just stood up in the corner. And I'm not that absent-minded as to say, oh, I actually forgot to shut the switch off. I turned it off. Did the downing of the energy sound and all that. So I'm sitting here, and about an hour later, it goes. It's over there in the corner. And I look at it, and I go, well, that's weird. I just thought it was a loose connection. So I go pick it up, and it shuts off. And then I look at it, and the switch has been turned on again. It's in the on position. I'm like, and immediately, yeah. And so immediately, I'm holding the thing, and I just look at the room, and I go, okay. I said, if somebody's here, and you're trying to get my attention, I said, I'm all ears. Talk to me. As a matter of fact, I'll sit down and record. And then I said, then Rowan came in the room. And so I recorded just for a few minutes. And we didn't catch anything that I could hear anyway.
There's an Instagram video that's floating around right now. There's a dad and his daughter. They're sitting at the table, and there's a baby gate between the dining room and the kitchen. And in the kitchen, you see the refrigerator door open.
Oh,
and then it closes, and the girl says something as she walks away from the table, and he stands up and he looks at the refrigerator, starts to step over the baby gate, and the door opens again, and he pulls his leg back and he turns around and he's like out of there.
Oh, I'm out. See, I think I always say, and I say it maybe with a little too much bravado, I'm waiting for that day that some ghost says to the other ghost, watch this. You know, and it does something.
Hold my beer, yeah.
Hold my beer. He said he wasn't scared of ghosts. Hold my beer. That's it. You know, the one thing I can't tolerate, I would not handle well, as little as I say I'm not afraid of ghosts or the spirit world and so on.
Right.
But the one thing I think that would, if I open my eyes in the middle of the night and something's standing over my bed or hovering over my bed, I'd pee my sheets.
Like one of those shadow people stories that they talk about, where they're
shadow people stories
or whatever,
standing in the corner of my room. You know, this sounds really weird, but I don't sleep in the total dark. I'm not afraid of the dark. I just don't like all the stuff I've done, all the things I've contacted, all the things that have been in contact with me. I don't need them touching out and poking my nose in the middle of the night or something. Hey, wake up.
So I grew up where my bedroom was on the back side of the house. And so we had huge carriage lights on our garage. So that light from outside would fill my room at night. Okay. Yeah. And then we were on the my back window faced Highway 52, so all night long I would hear trucks going by. So I've always been used to that kind of white noise in the background.
Sure.
My current place, I have my computer desk, which has 3 different monitors on it. I have my rolling desk, which has my laptop on it. Those often are left with screensavers on, so there's always some sort of glow coming from that. And if they're not on, the LEDs on all those things, they don't look like much during the day, but at night in an empty room, they create quite a glow. And so there's always some sort of light. Plus I have the outside lights. If I don't have the blinds closed, the outside lights from the parking lot at this apartment building will illuminate the ceiling, and that creates a night glow in here. And so I don't either. I don't ever have a completely dark room. And every once in a while I'll be someplace where it's completely dark, and I've never really experienced that.
I don't like sleeping in total dark. Now, Rainey,
I don't either. It weirds me out. I have to have something on just because I'm used to having that glow in the room.
I prefer the darkness.
What's that?
I prefer the dark. Completely.
You prefer the dark? So does my wife, Rainey. She loves it pitch black. She loves it. What's the analogy to you? She just loves it absolutely silent. So it's like
I like to have a TV running at night because
I like to have the
or
TV
Mozart
on.
or something like that, some music to affect my dreams. I
always slept with a fan going because I
have
liked
that
the
too.
white noise. The white noise was good for me. I used to like little models like the LED lights you're talking about. I
Yeah.
liked especially blue colors that would
Yeah.
would shine like that. I got a blue. See, that's what that blue light is up there. It's a and it doesn't transfer well on the camera, but that's a blue LED light up there that I use just for background color, and that's the kind of light. If I turned out here, let me show you. I'll show you an example of this. If I turned off all these lights, let's get that light off. And there's a light on way over in the corner in Rainey's office, but
no difference.
If I turn this one off, see, now that's what you get. The only light in here right now is the light from my computer and the blue light. But see, now I love that. At night, I could have something like that shining in my bedroom. And but Rainey's like, there will be no light. And
my daughter came into my life. Lights around the ceiling, Scotty. They change all different colors. You can have purple, blue, pink.
Yeah.
All remote control.
I'm going to turn up my computer a little bit, my light. Rainey changed many things about my life. One was I couldn't sleep with the fan anymore, and the other was I couldn't sleep with light. Here's a great one-liner for you guys. Let me put it up. Boom. I'd pee too, says Michelle Cannon Free. Nice. Yeah, I would.
See now if I had married Rainey and she put those things down, we wouldn't have 3 extra kids. Because I'd be sleeping in another room. That's fine, honey. You sleep in there and I'll sleep over here because I have the fan on.
Scotty's got priorities.
Listen to the radio. Barbie D listens to the radio. TV while sleeping isn't a great choice. Subconscious programming, says Michelle Cannon Free. I sometimes, you know what I like to turn on? Maybe there's programming in this too. I like turning on, and Rainey will do this with me. She'll find sleep music or sleep sounds, the kind that's
a new age thing. Or I like Mozart.
It's supposed to be the tones. What do they call the frequencies that are for deep sleep and healing and stuff like that? And so, we'll turn those on. I'll sometimes turn on. The other night I had playing. It was like, one I played for quite a while now is Falling Rain at Glastonbury Tor in England. And look that up, Dave. If you ever want to have a good sleep sound on the TV or your phone,
Mike's doing that thing again.
It's a YouTube thing. My mic is.
I'm getting all kinds of staticky echo. Are you getting that, Sean?
Anybody else do that? It's
just my device. Every once in a while, I'll go through it and then it'll go away.
So I play. It shows you're on this side of a fence, of a posted fence, and it's got a big tree with the leaves hanging down. And in the background is the hill, the Glastonbury Tor, with the little tower on top. And it's raining. And they recorded this thing over a course of several hours. It'll play for 10 hours if you just let it go. It must loop in there somewhere, or they've stretched something out. And it's moving. It's a video of rain falling at Glastonbury Tor. There's no music. It's just the rainfall, and very comforting. I remember when I went to Honduras for the first time, my grandpa's island down there. We went down there, my ex-wife and I, and Annette, who you know, Dave, and we went down there in 1990. And my grandfather's house was on the beach, just a little, not much bigger than a big trailer, sugarcane, tin roof thatched over the top, right on the beach. And the breakers in the ocean down there, the Caribbean to the north, broke out on the reef. And so you didn't get any up on the beach, which was 35, 40-foot walk from the front door veranda to the beach, and you were in the water. And but you could hear it breaking out on the reef. And all night, every night for 2 weeks, we slept with that sound coming, that or the breakers out on the reef. And so we got home and couldn't sleep the first night. I'd gotten accustomed to hearing that. So I went out and bought a CD of ocean sounds, and we'd play that every night. So we put it, remember we put it on the first night, and it was very comforting. You're falling asleep. You'd hear the breakers on the beach. And then all of a sudden, about an hour in, it goes, of a foghorn. And I'm like, holy shit, I jumped up. We're like, what the fuck was that? And then it does again. And you still hear the breakers. And it did that like twice in the CD. And it's like, thank you for the warning.
So much for sleeping.
So, you know the jet back in the USSR?
Yes.
Okay, so back in my teen days, driving around in my Mustang, I'm listening to side one of whatever, and forgotten that there's a long empty lead, because this is back in the days when you made your own tapes off the record, right?
Yeah.
And so I've got that tape in the cassette deck. The last song had played. I'm delivering pizzas. I'm in and out of the Mustang, and I had forgotten that I had a tape on play in there. Okay. And I'm sitting at an intersection in my Mustang, and several times as I'm going from delivery to delivery, I'd reached over and I'd cranked the volume up a little bit louder because I couldn't hear anything. And then I'd have to jump out of the car again. And then I ran in and got pizzas. And then I came out and put them in the car and I started driving. And so I'm sitting at this intersection, and I've not realized, but I have cranked the volume all the way up. And I'm in this little Mustang. And side B kicks around, and it's back in the USSR with the sound of a 747 landing on top of my car. This jet comes out of the back speakers so loud, and I flipped onto my side. I literally thought a jet was coming down on the intersection. I'm freaking out in the thing, and I look over, and everybody's looking at me in my thing, and everybody can hear this jet. Right?
Nice.
It's crank. And then it starts back, and I start laughing because that's when I realized what the hell is going on.
Nice. We back when I was in college in the dorm, we used to play those sound effects albums, and we had an album that did the thunderstorms and the ocean. And when I say album, I mean album. They were LPs, big LP records. Because we didn't have, we had tape recorders back then, or tape cassette players, but we got them on the LPs. And my roommate had a great stereo. You put that LP on, you didn't even hear the crackle. He'd lower the needle to go, and then nothing. It was silent, and you'd hear the sound effects coming in, and it was great. And we boomed those some days, and we wanted to say, can we put this at a volume that will actually make us think and feel that we're in an actual thunderstorm? And we did that, and it was great. Thunderstorm, the big cracks of lightning and stuff. And of course, we got in trouble
because everybody in the building was like, "What the hell?"
Yeah. So,
Captain, I'm gonna get going. Everybody's trying to sleep in my house, and I'm being kind of loud.
Brianna Learman.
Good seeing
you,
Sean.
I didn't mean to interrupt you. There she is.
So, thank you, Scotty, for letting me on, and Mr. Potter.
Sean,
you've got the greatest spirit ever.
Oh well, thanks. Man. It's looking really wide on this camera shot here.
A little bit, right?
Yeah, that's how those. That's how the boob models do that on Instagram or something. They hold their.
What'd you say, Sean?
Here. You ride a bike?
No. My dad did when I was little, but I don't. I hang with a lot of bikers. I know a lot of bikers, but.
Well, thank you for having me on, and
Sean, thank you for coming on.
Yeah, it was great.
And remember, for Lillian?
Star Trek, yeah. Don't deny her education.
That's right.
Star Wars is good. I love Star Wars, but make her full rounded. You don't want to.
Probably better in the school education.
There are lots of good lessons to be learned.
It's true.
Yes.
Change Dan Manson's life.
That's right. All right, man. You have a good night.
Right.
Thank you.
We'll talk to you again soon.
Definitely.
All right.
Oh, I cut him off when he was talking. I didn't mean to.
He said definitely.
Oh.
All right.
Kicking him from the studio.
Brianna, good seeing you there. Yes, we're still on.
We just got home from a friend's house. We were having a bonfire. Nice. Nice weather for it. You're going to have to come over here. We'll do a bonfire over here in the backyard.
When I'm coming in through the stream thing, then I don't get to see the chat anymore.
In my eye. Yeah.
And I normally have two devices up. I have a device with my tablet up so I can see what's going on in the chat, but I was racing around getting in here to get online, so I didn't bother to set that up tonight. So
yeah, that's all right.
So I'm sorry if I'm not responding to anything in the chat. I don't see it.
Oh, well. I'll throw up the chats that come in.
So let's go back to Strange New Worlds, which started this conversation.
Strange New Worlds.
So without giving away spoilers, I just thought it was brilliantly done. I love the fact that they finally addressed the Captain April situation.
Yes.
I've waited 20 some years for that.
Yep.
And I also really enjoyed the little Easter egg things that were planted all throughout that harkened back to original track, that harkened back to things that were just thrown out in different storylines along the way. I just loved the way they did it. They didn't club you over the head with stuff. Sometimes Trek can be a little in your face about stuff, and I really
I liked T'Pring.
Yes,
he was in there.
Yep. I love the fact that when they kissed at the end, the waiter came over and said, "Hey, you two have to, if you're going to do that, you can go to another."
Take that outside. It was a Vulcan, of course.
Yeah. Public displays of affection. Oh, we don't want to show that. You're so emotional.
Uh-oh. Brianna says, I just happened to click the link from earlier on accident. Wasn't expecting you to still be on. But anyways, I'm off to bed now. Harley's been coughing really bad.
Well, give John a hug.
Give John a hug. And remind him that he's a man.
Yeah. He the man.
He the man. So, what do we got here? You've mentioned some in chat. Was cool to hear you elaborate and expound. That's to Sean Stroik, I do believe. So, from Michelle Cannon-Free. So, Sean, it was great having you on air. Glad you came on. So
it was great hearing Barbara D, too.
Good night. Okay, Dave, what show is this from? Good night. Sleep tight until we meet again. Remember what that's from?
No.
And we want to thank you for joining us again tonight. And now to the band, they say a one and a two. Yeah.
My favorite was always, I'm so glad we've had this time together.
Who was
just to have a laugh or sing a song?
That was Carol Burnett.
Carol Burnett, yep. Seems we just get started, and before you know it, this is just like your show. Comes the time we have to say so long.
So long.
Yep.
I always like to, so long, farewell, Alvitazen, adieu, adieu. Adieu to you and you and you in the chat room. The sun has gone to bed, and so must I.
So, do you like the set?
I love the set. I love the set. It's
not the original.
Nope. Now, what was original about Pikes?
It certainly harkens back to it, and when I say the original, I don't mean the Kirk's Enterprise, because Pike's Enterprise was different.
Pike's Enterprise was like all battleship gray.
Yeah,
the bridge was
black
everything
and
was
gray
battleship gray. The red railings around the bridge, those were black, charcoal black, and he had a cool looking bridge.
Yep, I like it.
Looked like, you know what it was harkening back to? A captain standing on a battleship bridge during World War II, which had ended just 20 years before Star Trek.
Yeah, and the viewports in it reminded me kind of Forbidden Planet. You know, they had those gooseneck viewers that they looked into, and
I loved those.
And so, and I love the fact that they started the show off, and he's watching the
day the Earth stood still.
And then he borrows from that storyline to solve the problem on the planet. I love that. I love that.
I loved it too. I thought it was fantastic. So, and it was great. It was a mini morality play, like the original show.
Exactly.
And,
I love that.
That made it really entertaining. I'm so looking forward to seeing what they do with this series as they go on.
I am too.
I even like the new characters that they've infused into it because of Next Generation and some of the other shows.
Yep, I like that. I like so keep in mind, Next Generation hasn't happened yet, but
right.
But I do like
references they've made, and so.
But they've also pulled stuff from the Enterprise with Archer, because that's previous to this.
Yes,
Archer's Enterprise would be previous to this. So
Archer's Enterprise would be earlier.
Bringing in one of the blind Andorian species, I thought was cool.
Yeah,
and trying to think of some of the other stuff, but I also like the fact that they've introduced Nurse Chapel, and
Nurse Chapel's kind of hot,
and the other doctor, though,
Mbenga, I think it is.
My problem with that, now here's one of those things where I'm questioning their thought pattern here. First of all, I really liked Christopher Pike's original chief medical officer.
I did too.
And I wish they would have recast that character and had that character.
But he was too Bones-like, I think.
Well, but here's the problem I have with this. So, is it Mbenga?
Mbenga. He was in.
Okay.
He was in the episode "The Ultimate Computer" with Kirk and Spock. He was a Starfleet.
Oh, so he's not the Black Doctor that worked with McCoy?
No, he is the no, different doctor. This is I had read this early on. He's the guy.
That's where my confusion was, because I'm like, if he's the chief medical officer and then McCoy comes on, why would he step down and be subservient to McCoy?
Right.
If he's got seniority.
No, he was I can't remember. Mbenga. He moved up in Starfleet into experimental stuff, and he's the one who developed the Ultimate Computer.
That
took over the Enterprise. Why he went from medical to that, I don't know, but they say this is who that character is.
Okay.
So there you go.
Okay. Well, that makes more sense then. Though I still miss that other doctor. I love the fact that he was more bartender than
the older doctor.
Yeah.
Yep. He was a white-haired.
And there are plenty of actors out there that could play him.
Oh,
and still have that same look.
I think they wanted to work a black character in, and that's how they did it. But they've got Uhura, and Uhura is there, a cadet. She's a cadet in this, and so that's very cool.
I haven't read anything on that yet, but I'm assuming because of, I'm going to say this like I know her personally, but because of the way Nichelle Nichols has been with like the previous, like when they did the J.J. Abrams thing, she met up with the actress that played her, and they, shared a lot of notes, and she's like, here's where I was coming from when I did this, and here's how it changed my life, and gave her some of that history to work with, which I thought was cool. And I hope she does that, and I assume she will do that.
I saw some
other young
interview with
actor.
her where the new actress for Uhura was talking about what an honor it was to meet Nichelle Nichols and so on.
Oh, see, and yeah, because I can't even imagine they would start this, that she wouldn't have shown up on set to say, well, let me tell you.
Yeah. Of course, Nichelle Nichols is really falling pretty deeply into Alzheimer's, they're saying.
Oh, is she?
Yeah,
I hadn't heard that.
She was supposed to, the guy who used to own this radio station, Russ, has his Trek Federation, which is a charitable organization. And he had her they had planned to have her into their facilities, and she had to cancel because she was not doing well.
Oh, that's a shame.
So, and there was all that stuff in the news about her family, her son, I think, wanting to, and don't quote me, I might be wrong, I think it's her son, wanted to take away her power of attorney. And she was upset about that. There was some stuff in the news about that. And that was all happening at the same time.
Yeah, I get that. There's, I take care of two 90-year-old, 95 and 92-year-old parents. And
sure.
So,
and Nichelle Nichols, she's got to be in her upper 80s. So
yeah,
he's close to Shatner's age.
Yeah. And everybody ages different. I look at my dad, who up until the last 2 years had a really sharp mind and didn't have a lot of memory issues, uses a laptop and a smartphone and has, and does all that stuff, right? Mm-hmm. Keeps current with stuff. He was a pilot and flew until he was 80 something and only gave up his plane because with his knees going bad, it was hard for him to climb in and out of the plane. We had a Cessna. And so he decided he should sell it while he could still control that and not have us kids trying to figure out what to do with it.
Or by the way, field guy, she could be president of the United States.
Who? Who's she?
Nichelle Nichols. He put up a post. Her handlers don't let her do stuff anymore.
Yeah.
She could be
so I look at somebody like Biden, who's 20 years younger than my dad and far more feeble mentally than my dad is.
It affects people different ways.
My dad never shakes hands with invisible people.
Yeah. True.
Oh. Yeah, I just it's and you're right. It affects everybody differently, and it's not the age as much as it is the mental faculty. And it's just like
yeah.
And this is nothing new. They knew long before the election that he was not cognitively there. And
that's why they wanted him instead of somebody else that was younger and let's face it, had more capacity.
Obama didn't want to endorse him because Obama understood this.
Yeah, he did.
It was one thing to be the vice president and to be able to trot Joe out when you needed Joe to do
I only feel bad for Biden on these issues is that nobody deserves to be taken advantage of like he's been taken advantage of.
Right, and I feel like he is. I feel like they destroyed his legacy by doing
That's what I just said the other day. I said he already had a legacy. He served as vice president of the United States of America for 8 years, and after being 35 years in the Congress at that time. And you know what? No matter what you think about how long he spent, no matter what you think ideologically about where he stands, I didn't agree with him ideologically, but I always liked Joe Biden. I always thought he was a decent guy.
I did too. And, I never agreed with his politics, but I always thought he was a good Joe.
Here. And you watch him in certain hearings, and he's very fair, even though he supports his, hearings from 30 years ago.
Yeah.
Senate hearings, and you see him, he is strong. And I didn't agree with him, but he was fair, and he dealt with people fairly. Now, I watch him now, And I say, this is somebody that I don't know why the left even attempts to bolster him. If the left cared about their own candidate, their own president, Joe Biden, they would be working to have him retire.
Well, what concerns me
is Kamala Harris.
well, there is that. But what concerns me is who's the Richelieu in this court?
Yeah, who's the Richelieu?
Okay.
And if you don't know that reference, folks, think Three Musketeers, Cardinal Richelieu, the bad guy. So who's the Richelieu behind the king?
Oversaw the young king and whispered in his ear and said, "Oh, you should do this, you should do that." Organized wars, did all kinds of stuff, and made the king think he was making the decisions.
And he was a real guy,
a little puppet master behind the king.
Was a real guy.
Yes, he was. And so I'm concerned about that because at least in the 1700s, the court knew Richelieu was there. They knew Richelieu was doing this.
Yes.
Okay. And so there were courtiers who were savvy to this and were courtiers that had hung over from his father who could also whisper into his ears and give him advice counter to what Richelieu was, to try and educate the young king in ways that didn't get their own heads lopped off, but at least gave the king other ideas to think about. We don't know who's doing that for Biden. Okay.
Yeah.
And clearly somebody is. And he references that when he says stuff like, well, they won't let me talk to those people, or they don't want me to go on about
just
this.
Equipped to the side. They're like, oh, don't go. Don't let him say anymore.
Who's the handlers that's, is it Jill? Is it
they want me to tell you this, or they don't want me to talk about that? He'd say.
Yeah. So that's a little troubling. Not as troubling as so when this all came about, when he was running, I thought, here's the scenario. They're going to put him in office. He'll get the moniker of Mr. President for the rest of his life, something he's always wanted.
Yep.
And 6 months down the road, he's going to retire for health reasons. And the vice president will take over. She'll get to finish out his term.
Obama last month that he was going to run for a second term.
I know because let's face it, if he says he's done, then he's a lame duck today.
Yep.
Okay. So no standing president is ever going to openly say, I'm just going to do this year and leave. But this is what I thought that they were going to do. Put him in, he'd run 6 months, maybe a year, and he'd push the agenda stuff through that he wanted to get through. Yes. And then because they control the House and the Senate, they could railroad all this stuff through. Then he can retire, and whoever the vice president, well, he picked a vice president not based on their abilities, but based on how they were going to bring votes in.
And sex, yep.
Sex and gender. And
that didn't bring votes in, by the way.
It didn't, and it didn't help out. What the party has learned is it hasn't helped the country out at all.
Not at all.
Because now they're stuck with Joe in the White House, who clearly should be retiring.
And they don't want to retire him because they'd have Kamala Harris as president.
Exactly. She's an idiot.
I'm sorry, I don't say that just to be.
She's a babbling idiot.
Name calling of it.
I'm sorry, she is
not a smart woman.
And I get it. It's a nervous tick when she's caught in a lie, or when she's caught with her pants down, figuratively, not literally.
Yeah. That too.
Stuff. She does this nervous giggle thing because she doesn't know what to do. I don't have anything to say. Right?
She can't.
And she doesn't know how to improv. She doesn't know how to think on her feet and roll with it, which is something Biden used to be awesome at. You could throw anything at young Biden and he would have an answer for you. He was quick-witted.
Sean Stroik says, but he had the most votes ever in American history.
Whatever. I'm not disputing the election. I
don't dispute it anymore.
I think there was a lot of hinky stuff that happened during that election cycle. But that election was certified and we move on. That's the way our Constitution works.
There's a movie coming out that I want to see so I can critique it by Dinesh D'Souza.
Yes, I love his work.
2,000 Mules. Guys, go look up the movie trailer for 2,000 Mules.
Yeah.
And
Dinesh D'Souza has been spot on every one of his documentaries.
He has. And he's talking, you know what a mule is that they're referring to in this movie? It's the people who picked up the ballots from boxes, drop boxes, and brought them in the night of the election. And he's got specialists in on that, people that are.
So when I talk about hinky stuff happening, yes, there were, what do they call them? Not supervisors, the people that were watching over the ballot counting. Can't think of the word.
Ballot counting supervisors.
Were they called supervisors? Whatever. Anyway, yes, there were some things with those at various precincts throughout the country. There's always some of that kind of shenanigan stuff going on. The one place where they said, well, we're going to stop counting at midnight or whatever, and a bunch of people left, and then they fired everything back up and counted for another 5 or 6 hours without those people there. Okay. That kind of stuff happens. It's always happened, and clearly stuff probably happened when nobody's overseeing you and stuff, and it's not appropriate. Thank God there were cameras on, so
and there was
the
interesting point that when at about 2 a.m, that huge leap for Biden in electoral
that's what I was
vote,
getting to.
but it happened in only the it happened only in the swing states.
Yeah, but like
where that all happened all at the same time.
3 different states, 3 completely different precincts, all jumped by the exact same number at the exact same time of night. Now, what are the statistical odds of that? And what's really interesting about that is the down ticket didn't jump by that number, which means those ballots that I can't remember, was it 100,000, 200? It was a huge number.
I don't remember.
But whatever that specific number was, and it was the same in all 3 precincts in 3 different states, that jump was just for the president, as if that many people came in 3 different states and just ticked off, I want to vote for Biden. They didn't want to vote for any of the senators or congressmen or local officials or anything. You know, so if the whole ticket had jumped by that number in the middle of the night, okay, then there should have been that should have affected the senators, the congressmen, the judges, everybody else that was running. But it only affected the presidential election.
Affected the president.
And that's hinky.
That's hinky. That is. And people say, "Oh, the election was obviously, good." And I'm like, what are you paying attention to? It was only good to those who wanted to see Trump out of office.
And here's my question on this. So they're all upset because Trump was questioning the results. And yet Hillary to this date questions the results of the 2016, and nobody yells at her. What about what's her name from Georgia, who claims she's the freaking governor? And though she legitimately came up several thousand short.
Mm-hmm.
It may have only been, I don't know, it's like 2,500 or whatever. It's not a huge number, but the reality is she didn't get enough votes. Yeah. The other guy won. It's been certified. We move on. That's the way the Constitution works. We were told Biden won. It was certified, and we move on. And I get frustrated when people are like, wow, and Trump still says Hillary still says she won the election before that.
Yeah, and I don't hear the same people saying, but Hillary does, I don't
hear
that.
Let's look at the Bush-Gore election, which thank God the results came out. I can't even imagine what would have happened if Gore had been president
on
9/11.
Oh, Jesus.
What kind of a mess would we be in right now?
Yeah.
Had we not had, I mean, I've never been a huge fan of the Bushes. The Bushes to me are part of the problem going back decades. Okay. But That being said, having somebody in there that understood how to deal with the Taliban.
Yes.
And at that time, because oh my God, I don't think we would still be a country if Gore had been president at that time.
Probably not. And Durwood just said Steven Crowder, who I love, by the way. Steven Crowder went through the voter roll in Arizona and Michigan, Googled the addresses, and went to the locations, and there wasn't anything there. So, we saw a lot of that.
Yeah, there's a ton of these
but there
things.
was no fraud, folks, according to the left.
Well, and the argument that they said, well, it went to the court. The court didn't see the evidence. The court, on several of those instances, the judge, because the judges didn't want to be in the position to have to make that decision. Okay, so the easiest way to deal with that is we're not going to look at that evidence. We're going to dismiss this.
Everybody on the left was saying. Everybody was trying to argue with me about it.
Yeah,
it was all like, well, all these judges have thrown it out of court. I said, you do know why, don't you? They didn't want to have to deal with it. They kicked it up to the next court.
Right, but they often refer to it like the right lost in court. We didn't lose. They refused to look at the evidence. Well, that's not solving the problem.
That's it.
How is that democratic?
It's not.
So I don't want to get into this political thing.
And without getting into it at all, how is what the left is asking people to do about abortion right now any different from what they say Trump did on January 6th?
Yeah, that's another thing that I look at. So
it's not.
They call the thing that happened on January 6th an insurrection. Okay, I don't really see it that way.
I know it wasn't. I don't see it as an insurrection,
and I don't feel that he incited that mob to do that.
No, he didn't.
Having listened to that speech live and stuff, but what about all these people now calling for the left to go and storm the capitals at all these states? Right. It's like, whoa. We're doing trials right now based on storming one capital. Now you want them to storm 50 capitals?
Yeah.
That's an insurrection.
I just saw a thing on a news clip tonight. They're just storming churches too. Catholic churches that
absolutely ridiculous. Absolutely
promote
ridiculous.
On a religious level.
And when you read the letter, the what's the word for it in the court? The
draft.
The draft. When you read the draft, basically all this judge is saying is this is a poorly written law in the first place.
Yep.
The Senate and the Congress should get together and solve this problem in a law to protect abortion rights and let the people vote on it. Have elected individuals, which is what the Congress is there for, to give representation to the citizens of the country to make these decisions, and not the court. It's not the court's job to make these decisions.
No.
And he's not, it doesn't say this should be thrown out. It says, fix this, write the proper law, and be done with this.
And by the way, Durwood, the only person that was killed on January 6th was an unarmed white woman, unlike the Summer of Love. And that unarmed white woman also happened to be one of the protesters. So,
okay, there was a police officer that died. There was a police officer that died. And for clarification, they now believe he had an aneurysm.
Yep. Which has nothing to do with what happened.
It could have been brought on by the stress. You don't know. But he wasn't. They initially said he was hit in the head with a fire extinguisher. False.
Yep.
No fire extinguisher was involved. He had an aneurysm and dropped and collapsed. And people there assisted him.
Yep. So, and also the one thing I want to make a point with, and this is a point I've made with some other people out there, is that, and by the way, I try to be as polite as possible when I talk to people. I don't like to come across, calling people dicks and stuff like that, and you idiot and all that. No, I just say, well, remember, I said, I see all this stuff out there that says, your hands off my body and stuff like that. It's all renewed again, all that crap.
Right. Nobody's
And
saying
I say,
anything about that.
Look, I said, that's not what this Supreme Court issue is all about. They're not taking away anybody's right to abortion. They're just saying they are ruling on whether or not Roe v. Wade is constitutional law, should be constitutional law, constitutionally protected. And they're saying, no, it's not. It's not under the purview that abortion is a elective procedure. It's a choice. On some occasions, compared to the numbers, rare occasions, it's used to save the life of the mother, or if the baby is dying or dead or something. But abortion is not a constitutionally protected right because it is an elective procedure. It's not a right. And so the Supreme Court is saying it doesn't belong in the federal purview. We're going to remove it from federal control, put it back to where it belongs, the states.
Yep.
And that's all they're doing.
I'm sure Minnesota isn't going to throw that out. I'm sure New York isn't going to throw that out. I'm sure California and a bunch of these others. But there are some red states that may throw it out. But let's also look at the fact that the vast majority of the voters in that state are pro-life. So
yes, Durwood, by the way, the cop died a day or two later. So anyway, yeah.
So if you are living in a red state and you want to, and most of those states, even there, most of those lawmakers believe that you'll still have the right to get an abortion, but you're not going to be using abortion as a birth control. There will be limitations to it.
Right.
And a time limit. You can't do it up until the day before the birth.
You can't. It's viable at that point.
Yeah.
I mean, even the viability, and I hate that word when it comes to abortion too, because it's gymnastics of the imagination.
They're children. You're killing unborn children.
The argument for abortion is there to justify the end action, not to actually establish what is growing inside the woman.
So I look at it as the ultra conservative. I look at it this way. Government has no business in my health telling me what I can or can't do with my body or my wife's body. And that decision should be left up to myself and my family and maybe my clergy or my support group, whatever that is.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And though I personally believe that it's murder, I wouldn't opt for that option. I believe it's our choice and not the government's choice. The government shouldn't be involved with it, whether it's paying for it or whatever. Stay the hell out of our bodies.
Exactly.
Okay? So on the ultra conservative side, I call myself pro-choice because I believe that's our right. It's our choice. On the other side of that, the moral side of that argument, then I look at it and I clearly see it as a child, not as a mass of cells or what have you. And I think that there are other options in this day and age to deal with that child. If you can't raise that child or you don't want to raise that child, unless that pregnancy is going to cause fatal health to the mother, I understand that it happens, and there are some times where you have to terminate the unborn life to save the mother. I understand that. But outside of that, I look at there's all these people that can't have kids and want to have kids. And it's so hard that the adoption process is so hard.
Right.
And I get that they're trying to protect that child and keep them out of the hands of child predators and things like that. Okay. But when there are couples out there
see it this way,
seeking kids, I think that that process should be much easier for a couple to go and say, we want to adopt this child. here's our background, here's our financial situation. We can afford this. We can't have kids of our own, and we'd like to adopt a baby. That should be a pretty quick revolving door of getting those kids into the right
for
hands.
years that I'm okay with the government ruling that abortion is and states governments ruling that abortion is allowed. It's fine. If you want to choose an abortion, it's your body, your choice. But I would also like to see the Supreme Court rule on the fact that an unborn child is a protected human being, just like everybody else. Now, of course, they say at a certain point, okay, make it 17 weeks or 15 weeks, whatever it is. General pregnancy is 40 weeks, 37 to 40 weeks. So they're saying at 15 weeks, it's viable. So make it
at 15 weeks, you've got fingerprints, you've got a heart beating, you've got all these things.
So that should become a constitutionally protected human being. So
now on the paranormal side of it, when do you think the soul enters that body?
I have no idea how to even do that.
That's the biggest question. So I have no doubts in my life,
the only thing
about where I'm
we
going
ever went
when I
by
cross
theologically. The only thing we ever clung on to theologically was that quote of King David, where his child died, and he said, well, it was before that, because he said, "Before I was formed in my mother's womb, you knew me." He was speaking of God.
Right, because if so, within my theological belief system, within the way I see life in the afterlife, and we are beings of energy, we choose our, so we cross over, we'll be energy again, and when we choose to come back into a new life, we choose that life. We choose that life through with a couple of things. I'm going. Here's my lesson plan. These are the things that my soul has to learn this time out, and these are the parents that I've picked. I'm going to be their child, and all of that, right? And the question is, and this is really the big question that I still have. I don't question where I'm going at the end. I understand the process when I'm up there. What I don't understand is, at what point do I re-enter the body? Do I enter it when I become a viable set of cells as a fetus, and do I just kick back for several months and wait, or do I not enter until the day of the birth, or what is that? Is that what triggers the birth? Boom, I'm in here and it's like, okay, boom, 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 I'm ready to go. Let's get out of here.
Speculate. All we can do is speculate on that from a
so that's of all the questions to ask when you're reaching out to. So I often think that the ghost hunters miss their mark here. Let's not worry about why you're still here. Okay, when we're reaching out as a medium to other people, and we're bringing them in, and we're doing the automatic writing, or you're doing the clairvoyance, or you're doing whatever, ask the right questions. It frustrates the hell out of me. So when we were at the what's the hotel we did for Dead Reckoning?
Sauk Center, Minnesota.
Right.
The Palmer House.
The Palmer House. When we were at the Palmer House, and I'm standing behind the camera, and you guys are, and Seth keeps calling all the women whores, and you guys are going on about, well, is it because they remind you of the girls that used to work here, and they're asking all these questions, and I'm thinking, it's real obvious. They're all wearing jeans. In the 1800s, if a woman was wearing pants, she was a whore. Yeah. And so finally I just said, nobody would ask this question. Everybody's asking all these random questions. And I'm like, ask the right questions. Just, Seth, are you calling them whores because they're wearing pants? And the voice came back, of course.
There you
go.
Well,
finally.
There you
it's so frustrating. And so
thank you,
I
Seth.
say, when we're out there and we're reaching out through the Ouija board or whatever it is, let's ask this question: when do you come into the body?
That'd be a very interesting question to ask a spirit, wouldn't it?
Because, okay, getting one answer isn't good enough. You have to do it multiple times with multiple different connections. But if they all come back with the same sort of answer, then we know. It's almost everybody talks about the light. They pass out of their body, they see the light, they walk to the light. It's nothing but pure love. Yeah. And they enter that, and then they're surrounded by family and friends they've lost. Okay? So everybody accepts that. Everybody understands that. We even understand and accept what happens if you live a negative life and stuff. There have been plenty of people that have had the near-death experience and come back that talk about like the black shadowy demons that just start crawling all over them, coming up out of the ground and trying to pull their soul down and stuff. Right. Now, I am not a believer in hell. I believe that the afterlife is a series of levels, and they're on different wavelengths, and you will enter at whatever wavelength you were vibrating at when you passed. So Hitler is going to bounce in way down towards the bottom because of all the negative karma and stuff that he collected while he was doing his thing. And somebody like Mother Teresa is going to bounce in way up high in the list because that's where she's functioning from. Okay. But that doesn't mean that Hitler is forever bound to this low level. He will continue to go through a process of elevating himself back up through levels. He chose that life going into it. When he entered that body the first time as a child, he said, okay, in this life, I'm going to be this total evil incarnate and learn all of those lessons or teach all of those lessons. Okay. People don't often think about this, but so there's the baby, there's the soul up there that says, okay, I'm going to enter this child who's only going to live for 11 months. And because he's going to have this, be born with this disease, and mom and dad need to learn this lesson. Their souls need to learn this lesson of losing a child in this life. And so I'm going to be that child because Soul A and Soul B were best friends of mine and in our little soul pattern that we hang out with. And I volunteered, I'll come and be that child for you. And so they're going on and they do their thing and they learn their thing, and that those parents then, having lost this child, will grow as human beings and do something with their lives because they experience this great loss.
Well, there was, it's like the old Epic magazine or a heavy metal magazine. If you remember that, it was, it had anthology of different comic strips by different artists.
Yeah.
Came out in the 70s and 80s. And I've still got an old one I found in a box from the 80s. And it's black and white line drawing by a famous Italian comic book illustrator. And it's a Western, and it shows the bad guy, the typical black-headed bad guy. And the hero has to rise up and take a stand against him, like the 12 o'clock high or something like that. And so eventually the bad guy finally gets his dues and his gun down in a draw or something with the sheriff and drops dead, and the town is freed of this bad guy. And so the next scene, it shows this very wizardy looking guy in the robes. Think of it like a John Dee almost. Sitting at a table, and he's working with things. And through the doorway, through this mist in the doorway, stumbles this bad guy, the cowboy. And he goes, "How was it this time?" And he says, "It was rough, but it's no different than usual." And they start talking, and you find out that this guy keeps going back to play the bad guy so he can raise up the hero who needs to be raised up.
Exactly.
And so he's got to create the adversity the adversary so the hero can shine.
There is no light
that's his
without
job,
darkness.
his mission. That's it. That's it. And and that made the fact that I remember that 40 years after I saw it.
Oh yeah,
is still
that's brilliantly written.
Amazing.
That's and you know, tragedy often is returned with some great flowering thing.
Yep.
You know, what's his name? Who did the crime fighting show that you were on?
Crime fighting show.
After your
America's Most Wanted.
Yeah. That came about because of the loss of his son.
Because of the loss of his son.
And
look at all the good that show has done over the years.
Yeah. And that's what I'm saying. It's like, so yes, this tragic thing happened, but it spawned this thing that has brought to justice thousands of people and put peace in the hearts of thousands
child
more.
Jacob Wetterling?
Yes.
No, that child,
was it Jacob? No,
that was a different case.
That was a different one. But
I can't think of the actor.
I want to say his name was Josh or something, but
the guy who hosted that show, John Walsh.
Adam Walsh.
And so you wonder if Adam Walsh, does his soul, is he in wherever he is now?
So he came down knowing I'm going to live 11 years and I'm going to do this, this, and this. I'm going to save my best friend's life, which he did. Saved his best friend's life, and I'm going to create this thing through my father because of what my loss,
the grief of my father, and yeah, exactly.
And so that's what, you know, that's where we're at when we make that decision to come down and we do the crossover and all that stuff, and come back into the corporeal world. But again, the big question is, when is that? When do we make, you know, it's one thing to make the decision and say, okay, I'm going to do this. And I think that, so the veil between the other side and kids is really thin. Little kids can remember stuff from their previous lives and stuff. And I think they still remember their mission when they come in.
Yeah.
And it's programmed in there. It doesn't matter whether they consciously remember it or not. At some point in their life, that veil is going to become so opaque they can't see through it anymore, and they will move on with that life up until the point where whatever's supposed to happen happens. That's our destiny part of it. Okay. Free will is our ability to navigate that world while we're waiting, you know, moving towards that destiny element. And some things are predestined, and it's not always a tragic thing. Sometimes we come in and, hey, I'm going to be the millionaire this time through because I've been a pauper and I've done this. I was a slave and I was this, and this time around I get to be the millionaire and live that life. And you know, you're born with a silver spoon. You come in and it's like you're going to have everything you've ever wanted this time around. You're not a slave and all that stuff. And maybe by doing that, this time around, I'm going to treat my employees really good because I know what it's like to be on the sucky end of that stick. And I'm not going to, you know, allow slavery to happen because I remember what that was like and such. And so you move forward then in your new life, carving out the world for you. You know, and maybe you came through. So I'm not saying every millionaire is living that life, but you know, there are plenty of people out there that have always been the good guy and they want to put the screws to somebody. They want to be the bad guy this time around.
Yep.
You know, they're tired of always being the guy that's overlooked while the bad kid, the bad boy, air quotes, walks off with the beautiful babe and you get stuck in the friend zone. I'm tired of that. I want to be the bad boy. I want to, you know, do whatever it takes to succeed, and I don't care who I step on in the way. And people will take that life. Yeah. Because we all have to experience all these different things as we go through.
It's interesting. I pluck this off the shelf. Michelle Cannon-Free mentioned his other book, but Joseph Campbell, The Hero with 1,000 Faces. A fantastic book.
Joseph Campbell. It's an excellent read.
Yeah. And he said, just in the opening, the preface to his book, he says, this is the 1949 edition. He says, the truths contained in religious doctrines are, after all, so distorted and systematically disguised, writes Sigmund Freud, that the mass of humanity cannot recognize them as truth. The case is similar to what happens when we tell a child that newborn babies are brought by the stork. Here, too, we're telling the truth in symbolic clothing, for we know what the large bird signifies. But the child does not know it. He hears only the distorted part of what we say, and feels that he has been deceived. And we know how often his distrust of the grown-ups and his refractoriness actually take on their start from the impression. We have become convinced that it is better to avoid such symbolic disguisings of the truth, in that we tell children and not to withhold them from a knowledge of the true state of affairs, commensurate with their intellectual level. Now, that was all Freud. And
Right.
Joseph Campbell says it's the purpose of this book to uncover some of the truths disguised for us under the figures of religion and mythology, by bringing together a multitude of not too difficult examples and letting the ancient meanings become apparent of itself.
Last night, one of the brothers in Lodge presented a Lodge education piece on this subject, on truth.
Oh, really?
And the whole concept of, are your truths the same as mine? And such, like the Pontius Pilate,
right.
Jesus conversation. And the reality is, there are a whole bunch of, he went around the room and asked each of us a question. He had a whole list of questions, how many states are there? And people are like, well, there's 50 states. No, there's not. There's this many states and so many commonwealths and stuff. And there's a whole bunch of these things that we in our heads have formed a list of things that we believe because the government or science or whatever has told us, like how many, days in the year are there, and it's not actually what we always think of it as 365, but it's not. It's a different number, and it's put together with fractions and all this stuff to create thing. And it's just easier to say 365 because that's what they try and work it out to. Okay. And there's just a whole bunch of sciencey type things like this that they go around, and that the truth compared to what is reality are not the same thing, but it's the way we see it, and that's the way we tell it, and that's the way we're taught it, and we're basically just fed a bunch of lies most of our life.
Yep. By the way, I just want to acknowledge Durwood said, I want to get a Kickstarter going for a Western D&D game based on the movie Silverado. Loved Silverado.
Love that movie.
And you'll recognize this, Durwood. It still goes through my head every now and then. Dun 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 bum bum ba-da-dum bum ba-dun dun 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 dun. That was the music from Silverado.
I loved every character in that film. The Kevin
Costner character was great.
Costner's character.
Kevin Kline was phenomenal in that.
Danny Glover. All of those characters. That is one of the best modern westerns ever to be made.
It was. It was one of the first big new westerns to be made too when it came out in the 80s. I loved the line where Klein, of course, at the beginning is naked and all he's been robbed and all of that, and his horse is gone. He comes into that town and he finds his horse, and there's the troops are there, the policing, and he says, "This is my horse," and the captain of the army guys, he says, "Well, How do you know that's your horse? And the horse starts licking his face and smooshing all over Kevin Kline. He goes, look, he says, he's kissing me. And the captain says, I once had a whore do that to me in Abilene. She ain't my wife. So, there you go. That still sticks with me.
It's just so well written, and it's so well performed.
It was very well written.
You know,
I have a girl that does that. Doesn't make her my wife, says Durwood. He beat me to the punch.
Yep. So then I look at a piece like The Lone Ranger with Johnny Depp. $150 million to make a Western.
Horrible movie.
As a producer director, I'm beside myself that they could spend $150 million on a Western, shooting on a ranch owned by Hollywood for 50 some years that is there just specifically to make Westerns.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the movie was horrible.
And all this stuff. And I just, there are so many, get me wrong. I'm a huge Depp fan. Most of his films I love. The more
Johnny
obscure of them, the more I like them. But that Hollywood tried to turn the Lone Ranger into some sort of Marvel Star Wars type epic thing instead of just making a really good Western.
Yeah, you could have done the Lone Ranger very well.
They could have done it historically accurate. The Lone Ranger was a black marshal.
Yeah, and they made him almost a comic book caricature of what he was.
Well, and he was like the Lone Ranger was like the sidekick. Tonto was the center of the attention because Johnny Depp had just come off of Pirates, and he was basically playing Black.
He was playing Jack Sparrow
as an Indian.
Yeah,
it's like, what the hell? Did you just phone this in for the paycheck?
Yeah.
I was disappointed in that movie in so many ways, but most importantly, the budget in the box office, because it was ridiculous. They shouldn't have spent more than $20 million on that picture. I'll even give them 60 because Depp's going to take 20 for himself.
Yep.
Though so here's a little secret about Hollywood. So there is a tax credit thing that was put in by the federal government for filmmakers. It's written originally as independent filmmakers making films up to $20 million. Okay. Hollywood lobbyists had that changed to filmmakers for the first $20 million. Okay. The concept was, if I'm an independent filmmaker in Texas or Minnesota or Missouri or wherever I live, and I'm going to make a film, the government will spot me basically $20 million. Okay. I have to pay that back out of the back end of the film if it makes money. But if it doesn't make money, I got my movie made. All the actors got paid. Everybody made some money and we move on. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
What Hollywood figured out is, instead of letting that go to a bunch of independents to make a bunch of horror movies or whatever those little independent film companies are going to do, they had that wording changed to the first 20. So they could take that first 20. That's when, lo and behold, you started getting actors like Tom Hanks and Johnny Depp and these $20 million actors. That $20 million is coming from your tax dollars.
Yep.
So it doesn't actually cost the film company. They're like, I'm going to give you $20 million to be in my movie. Well, they're not going to say no to that. So they can sign a big star. Now they can turn around and say, I've got Tom Hanks signed with this film, or I've got Johnny Depp signed with this film.
Exactly.
The studio says, well, how much cash do you want? Because those names are going to make us $200 million. Easy.
Yep.
So then they throw the cash at them and they go out and they make this film. And that salary is written off. They're going to get that back in a tax credit. And they're going to make their money because they've got those stars in it. Didn't work with the Lone Ranger.
Sean, I think it was Sean that asked, weren't there other Lone Ranger movies made? Yes.
That were much better.
There not many, but the TV series was the best. The old TV series, you had, of course, the classic Forever Lone Ranger, Clayton Moore, who who, by the way, lived in Golden Valley, Minnesota until he died. And not many years ago. Now, well, maybe it's 20 years ago now. I don't know.
It doesn't seem like many years ago, but I bet if we actually looked at the date, we'd be going, 20 years? How did 20 years go by?
There's another Legend of the Lone Ranger that came out, and I think that came out in the 80s.
I was going to say like 85 or something. Yeah.
Yeah. And by the look of the hairstyle of the Lone Ranger, it was the 80s.
Yeah.
Then you had, let's see.
Still a better movie than the one with Johnny Depp.
What is this? The Lone Ranger movie filming in Creed, Colorado.
Are they doing another one?
Hold on, I'm looking to see here.
Are they in production?
When is this dated? I just got to check the date of this. Let's see. The Lone Ranger movie filming in Creed, Colorado. A big long article here. Posted in Dude Ranch. There's no date on this. It's got a proudly affiliated with the United States Forestry Service. It's got a phone number. Check availability. So it's a Dude Ranch, but the Lone Ranger movie filming in Creed. It says originally a long-running radio show, then a television show, and then the Lone Ranger's been an enduring icon of American popular culture since 1933. The weekly radio show had blah, blah, blah. It goes into that. Lone Ranger and Creed. The fame of the Lone Ranger continues to be renewed by re-releases of the original radio and television. There was a lot of excitement for all of us locally since some of the filming was done in our very own Creed. Oh, the Johnny Depp movie was made in Creed. Okay, never mind. So there is not.
And they do all these special effects with it, and that's part of why it was so expensive. And they had all these explosions. They had the train that was, a lot of that was CGI and a whole bunch of, and it's like,
yep. And
you know, who was the actor that played the Lone Ranger? Nobody knows because
they don't know who he is. There's a guy named Bass Reeves that played the Lone Ranger back in, when was this? It's old. Bass Reeves.
Any relation
the myth.
to
I'm sorry.
Steve Reeves?
Bass Reeves and the Lone Ranger, Debunking the Myth. It's a documentary. Never mind. The guy
he's the black marshal that I think that I think that's the name of the. So
the Lone Ranger was played by Armie Hammer. What's he done since the Lone Ranger that I've seen? I don't know.
Nobody knows him because he was a sidekick in the film that was about him.
Yeah. And they also made him this miserable sap of a character at the beginning. If you remember that, the story was so poor.
Yeah.
He was, I don't remember what his profession was, but he wasn't a lawman. He didn't know how to hold a gun. He was a dope. He was clumsy. And suddenly he's supposed to become the Lone Ranger, we're supposed to believe.
Yeah.
No, that's not the way that worked in the original.
You know, and so part of that comes around because young woke Hollywood, and I say young woke because this was before the whole woke movement, but this is what started this whole thing. Is it John Silverheels?
Jay Silverheels.
Jay Silverheels. That played Tonto. People are like, what, when you watch, and it's dated. Okay, let's face it. Clayton Moore's Robin Hood, made in the 50s, and you look at it, and the way Tonto is treated is really piss poor. As having Native American blood in me as well, and having lots of friends like Ruben and such, I look at that and I'm like, oh yeah, you know, it's poorly written. But it's written through a 1950s lens.
Yeah.
And such. And I'm not making excuses for them. I'm just saying you have to look at history through the eyes of the people that lived it, not through our eyes, because we're more enlightened than they were. That's the whole process of the human thing. We become more enlightened with every generation, theoretically. Okay. And so it's easy for us to look back and say, oh my God, slavery, that was awful. Oh, the way we treated Native Americans, that was awful. But in their time, they didn't have our perspective. They had a different perspective, and you have to look at history through their eyes, not through our eyes.
Right.
That being said, they wanted to create a thing that shined a different light on the Native Americans and on the Lone Ranger and blah, blah, blah. Well, they could have taken the real story of Bass, who was a black marshal and was often a Lone Ranger because the other Rangers wouldn't ride with him, and told that story and been so much more accurate to people of color and to the Native Americans and his relationship with Tonto, because he was a black man with a Native American, and they had common interests and common hatreds. Okay, it would have been a totally different story.
It would have been a very interesting story
than what we were brought up with Clayton Moore, but it would have been the true story by which they based the Lone Ranger character on, but they made him white because, well, it's 1950, we can't have a hero being black.
Right. I'm going to have to look that up on YouTube now. I'm going to have to see if there's that documentary.
Very interesting. I know which one they're talking about it, and that's it's very. I loved it. And to me, that's the movie they should have made.
Yeah.
But Hollywood will only go so far. You know, I love how they preach to us about how we should live our lives, but they're not quite ready to do that themselves.
Right. But then there's Zorro. I loved Antonio Banderas' Zorro in the first movie. I didn't like the second movie as much.
I did like the Zorro movies. I grew up with Zorro. I grew
up with Guy Williamson.
Guy Williams as
Professor Robinson
even earlier
in the original
back
Lost in
as
Space.
Even going further back with
Tyrone Power.
And
There's an amazing
also,
sword fight duel between Tyrone Power and Basil Rathbone.
Oh my God!
That was an amazing, almost non-cut.
And going back even further to Fairbanks and stuff.
Douglas Fairbanks playing Zorro. Yeah.
Some really brilliant. So I've loved all those movies, right? Zorro was one of my favorite heroes as a little kid. I loved the Zorro movies. Because it gave me everything. It was like the cowboy thing, but he had a sword, and that was cool because I was into swords and sword fighting even when I was a little kid.
Yeah.
And so I loved the whole Zorro thing, and I thought Banderas did a great job as Zorro. I love those
films. He really did. I wanted to see him do another one, but now I think he's probably getting too old to play that character.
Part of the problem with Hollywood in films like the pirate movies, the Zorro movies, the things like that. So back in the 30s, the 40s, and the 50s when they were making them, they treated those storylines as just solid storylines. They weren't making fun of them. They weren't making spoofs of them. That we're going to do a pirate movie. We're going to do a Zorro movie. And you got great things like Captain Blood and The Mark of Zorro and all that stuff, right?
Yep.
So then someplace around the 70s, the only way you could make a pirate movie is if you were making a parody of the 40s and the 50s.
Yep.
Or the Zorro movie with
Hamilton.
Yes, the Gay Blade.
Zorro the Gay Blade. Yeah.
Now there's elements of that I think work.
That was actually not bad.
Because it hearkened to the Scarlet Pimpernel.
Yes.
Okay. With Leslie Howard. And what Leslie did, he said, okay, I'm this dashing action adventure guy, and I'm going to go over to France and rescue all these aristocrats, right? But I'm going to disguise myself as one of these foppish fools so nobody thinks that I'm the dashing hero guy. Because
here, I've got this to lay on you. Listen to this. This is years ago, and this is still with me. Leslie Howard as the Scarlet Pimpernel. First thing he says, the guy says, "Oh," he says, "You have no idea how to tie a cravat. Let me fix it." He fixes the guy's cravat. But then he's with all the ladies at the party.
Yes.
And they're all talking about the Scarlet Pimpernel, and which is him, but he's got his cover on as the fop.
Are you going to do the poem?
The poem.
Yes.
He says to the ladies, he goes, "They seek him here. They seek him there. Those Frenchies seek him everywhere. Is he in heaven? Or is he in... Oh, that dimmed, elusive Pimpernel." And that was his little poem he did for the ladies.
Yes.
And in the old movies, he didn't say the word. They didn't say the... Is he in heaven? Or is he in... Oh. So, and he points down.
Well, so here's a little interesting fact about Leslie Howard, and I love this too because of the Scarlet Pimpernel. So, during World War II, he's running around making these movies.
Thank you, Barbie D.
And he is actually spying for the British government against the Germans and the other Nazi factions, getting information and bringing it back. And it's like, oh, I'm just a Hollywood actor, and is able to gather a lot of intelligence in his travels around Europe as an actor making films and such. Very fascinating. In fact, he's shot down. We lose him because he was shot down by a German, if I understand right.
Yeah.
But when they made those films, yes, there was humor in them, but they weren't making they were being
they made
literally correct in the making of them. They weren't trying to make fun of those genres. They were trying to create that genre of the action adventure, the sword and not the sword and sandal films. Those are different, but
that's different,
the swashbuckling sort of heroes.
Yes.
Okay. And in the 70s, the only way you could tell those stories if you were doing a parody, because no one wants to see that. I'm like, there were still people that wanted to see those things.
Yeah.
And Three Musketeers, one of the best swashbuckling. Dumas was
Oliver Reed,
but Dumas himself, as the author, is brilliant. Who's a black man, by the way.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't realize that. And he wrote some of the best tales of the 1600s, 1700s, and the swashbuckling of the Musketeers, the Man in the Iron Mask, Tales of D'Artagnan, all these things. And his source material, there actually is a D'Artagnan, and he has a memoir, and it's like a 7 or 8 volume set. Okay. And he got a copy of these and read through them, and it's D'Artagnan's life through all this stuff. Cyrano de Bergerac, Dumas.
Yeah.
And those stories are still played out today in various ways. They just did Cyrano again with a whole new twist on it. They did it back in the 80s with Steve Martin playing
Roxanne.
Roxanne playing a fire department chief and stuff. It was an interesting.
They've got a new one coming out with the dwarf actor from.
It's out,
and that's instead of the big nose, Cyrano's a dwarf in this.
Yeah.
So.
Which were fairly common within the Paris. There was a.
Interesting. That movie interests me. I want to see that.
Yeah, another one I want to see how they play with that as well.
I want to see Denzel Washington's Macbeth. Have you heard about that?
I've not heard about that.
The filming. Go look up a trailer on that. It's done in black and white, and it's done with minimalist sets, which lends to having,
I love Macbeth.
you can have a black man playing a Scottish king. So because it's very minimalist and silhouettes and things like that. And I saw some scenes from that with Denzel Washington doing Shakespeare's Macbeth. Man.
Isn't Forrest Whitaker the one that played the last Scottish king? The last king of Scotland?
Yeah. Last king. Yeah. No connection.
I know. But maybe he was like, oh, well, Forrest did it. I can do it.
Yeah. If Forrest can do it.
I'd love to see him play Othello. I think
I used to say, Dave, I used to do this and say, who am I? What famous actor am I? Forrest Whitaker? But anyway, so hey, Louis Boyce, nice to see you. We're just going to wrap it up here. I'm going to wrap it up because I'm baked. I'm done. Not baked. I'm just done.
4 a.m. 4 a.m.
4 a.m. You can't do it tonight. I got no juice for it. So it's fun.
I got to get back to the mural early in the morning. We're so close to being done with this mural. We installed the dollhouse into the wall today and drilled tiny little holes all over the painting. And don't let me tell you, that was nerve-wracking. I spent all this time painting this mural and then start drilling holes in the walls because we're going to have little tiny LED lights inset from, we've taken the wall off on the other room from behind, and we're pushing LED lights into the wall so that there are little blinking fireflies throughout the forest.
That's going to be very cool.
And then
that's neat.
The main tree is a 3D relief that's been carved in foam and covered with a material to make it rock hard. And that'll get painted and blended in with the painting. And that has a piano hinge on it so it can open up. And she has in there a little dollhouse with all her little fairy figurines so that she can play with the thing.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I can't wait to see that all done and see some good photographs.
We're so close. I have to have it done by the 15th. And so my time. And I'm cooking a banquet for hopefully 100 people on the 13th.
The 14th.
Friday the 13th I've got. And so the 12th and 13th are tied up. The 14th is going to be screwy in the morning because there's always cleanup the day after. We never get it all done the night before. So just before I have to have this all done, I lose 3 days out of my calendar. So it's going to be groovy.
Well, I'm going to let you go now. We're going to go to bed. Right. I'm going to go to bed. Not us, And Dave and I don't have that in the middle of the night.
Live long and prosper.
I'm going to go cuddle with someone that I would rather
cuddle with your wife. That's who you should cuddle with.
Rather cuddle with than Dave. So, all right, guys, everybody, thanks for being here. Thanks for joining Dave and I for the last 2 hours.
Give the kids a hug at breakfast for me.
The post show has become its own show.
Well, Flynn's probably still up watching TV or something, but
he's sleeping over at a buddy's house tonight.
Oh, is he?
I'm sure they are. So good night, Barbie D. Louis Boyce, good to see you. And now we're going now that you're here. So, Michelle Canham Free, good night. And who else?
I can't believe you're still on.
Durwood.
Good night, everybody. Everybody have sweet dreams.
Yeah. So everybody, thanks for being here. Thanks for giving us your time. And we're gonna sign out of here. So you know what? Let's do a little sneak preview for Sunday morning. So everybody, you know what? Live long and prosper.